highest rollers come to the table with an eye on the jackpot. Rollers come to the table with an eye on the jackpot as the season points to the Grey Cup. In Argoland, they play 12-card stud with the ace at quarterback, Doug Flutie at the pinball, and it's a loaded deck. He's always got something up his sleeve. They've got Demetrius Maxey in a poker face defense. The Argos never show their hand, always keep you guessing. For Jeff Garcia, number 7 is not lucky today, sidelined with an infection. When this joker runs wild, Kelvin Anderson gives defenses the royal flush. Vince Danielson is the Calgary slot machine. Now there's a player. Let it ride.
Daddy wants a 7. Let's go, 7. Yeah!
It's double or nothing. The Argos and Stampeders meet for the second time this year. Calgary winning the opener 45-35, but the Argos haven't lost since. They have been hot. And there he is, the Palooka, a full 2 weeks early for Halloween. Good afternoon and welcome to the CFL on CBC. I'm Mark Lee. Well, the Stampeders are the last team to have beaten the Argos, but that was 10 weeks ago. Since then, Toronto has been unbeaten and clinched first here in the East. Stampeders, meanwhile, are still in the thick of that wild playoff race in the West, but a major development today. Their starting quarterback, Jeff Garcia, will not play. Garcia suffered a turf burn on that elbow last week in Calgary. It has become infected. He has a fever and is on antibiotics and in no condition to play football today. So that means his backup, Dave Dickenson, will start for Calgary. He's completed 100% of his passes this year, but look at that. He's only thrown 7 passes. Our featured analyst here this afternoon, Big Chris Walpe. How about this situation at quarterback for Calgary?
Well, he's had a short week, but one thing, he has played in the preseason. He's thrown 16 of 23. He's only thrown touchdowns. He's not thrown interceptions this year, and he has rushed the ball. Some people say he hasn't got the big feet. He's rushed the ball 7 times for 44 yards, so he will do that if he has to.
We'll see how he does on a short week with very little time to practice. On defense, the last time they played, this guy was thrown out of the game early for a late hit on Garcia.
And a lot of people on Toronto, the players particularly, think that that was one of the reasons they didn't win that game in Calgary. It'll be a different story today, they say, with Michael Shea back in the middle.
And how about this guy?
Anthony McClanahan, Mr. Colorful, wrestler, actor, you name it. The man sells real estate. He said, and he promises, quote unquote, I will be in Doug Flutie's side.
And your game notes, Pluto?
Well, I tell you what, Calgary has to start strong on offense and even finish stronger. They cannot afford a lull. On defense, they have to play disciplined, error-free football. For Toronto, stay sharp, stay focused. They've got first place clinched. They can't be sloppy. And on defense, let's pressure the new guy.
All right, this has to be awfully disappointing for Jeff Garcia. He wanted to play his old mentor, Doug Flutie. He's now standing by on the sidelines with Caroline Corey.
That's right, Mark. Jeff is not out there. He is right here. Jeff, what went into your decision to not start the game today?
Well, the major decision was to be healthy for next week's BC game. I think if I would have went out there today and banged it up a little more, I would have started from scratch again. And I think the main thing is going to the playoffs healthy, and that's what I want to do.
So how does throwing Dickenson into the mix there affect your offense?
Well, I think Dave's done a great job of learning over the past 2 years that he's been with us, and I think he'll do a great job today. He's a very smart quarterback. He's very accurate, and we'll see how he does.
Right. And you talk a bit about how important next week's game is against British Columbia, and of course you want to be healthy for that one. Talk a bit about that.
Well, that's the game that's going to mean playoffs. You know, we want to start the playoffs at home, and it's going to go through BC, and so we need to play well next week, and it's important that I be healthy next week.
Thanks very much, Jeff Garcia. Back to Chris and Mark in the booth.
Thanks, Caroline. A beautiful day for football in Toronto, but of course, we are under the roof here in the Sky Dome. The Calgary Stampeders will receive. The last time these teams played, the Stampeders were 2-4, and that big win in August the 7th helped turn it around for Wally Buono and his Stampeders. And of course, the big story today for the Argo head coach Don Matthews, he can break Frank Clair's record of 147 wins all time in a career with one more win today. Mike Vanderjack waiting the opening whistle. He's got it, and this game is underway. Vanderjack with a line drive. Taken by Marvin Coleman just inside his own 20. Lots of traffic, lots of popping down there to open this one, and he's brought down just across the 40-yard line by Norm Casola on a 26-yard return.
And Dave Dickenson, who's going to take the helm here, has got tremendous credentials coming from the University of Montana. 7 for 7 in the regular season, 93 yards, and the important stat, 1 touchdown, no interceptions.
The big story, though, for Dave Dickenson, how prepared is he as the backup in a short week? Don't forget, Calgary played on Monday. They traveled here on Thursday.
Well, that's the big key right there, and plus the fact is they probably didn't know until late last night whether Garcia would play. So I don't know how much reps he got with the first unit.
Dickenson with pressure can't find a receiver and goes out of bounds, and it looks like a short loss on the play.
Well,
Rob Waldrop taking him out of bounds.
The big thing right now is they're going to have to get some good protection from these guys led by our big Rocco Romano on that offensive line. McNeil, Crysdale, Childress, and Burns running out this unit. Second in the league for sacks allowed. Their backs and receiver, Vince Danielson, goes over 1,000 yards last week. Alan Pitts, Terry Vaughn, Travis Moore coming along too.
Vince Danielson saying that the quarterbacks trust him now. He's over 1,000 yards, and what they trust most is what they see on the game films, the fact he makes good decisions week in and week out. 2nd and 11 Calgary. Dickenson looks straight down the field. He has Travis Moore with coverage from Adrian Smith, and it's incomplete.
Well, the ball was on the money. It was a nice throw by Dickenson. Travis Moore had it, dropped it. Good coverage on the play. One of the things we got to talk about right now is Dave Dickenson. Watch him as he comes back and sets up here. Lower Park just throws the ball. What they say about Dave Dickenson is he's got tremendous touch on the football. Now that means as a receiver, you have to kind of try and feel him out. Garcia throws a harder ball. So a lot of times you can walk into the football, and when you got a softer ball, you got to sit and wait.
Dickenson with 26 school records from Montana in that pass-happy Big Sky Conference. Adrian Smith is the lone man back to receive this punt from Martino. A high shot that pushes Smith back to his 17-yard line, and he is smothered immediately. Good downfield coverage. It's Aldi Henry and Farrell Duclair limiting the return to 6 yards. And Doug Flutie coming into this game. Last week he broke Tobin Rote's record of 38 touchdown passes in a season with 2 more. He sits at 40 now and keeps on getting better.
Well, he's got tremendous stats, and the big thing, I mean, he's 56 of 82 for 600 plus yards and 5 touchdowns in his last 2 football games. He's been moving it.
Doug told me that after the loss 45-35 August 7th to Calgary, he studied film twice as much as he would normally. That's his own penance. Flutie in the shotgun. First down Toronto at their 30. Flutie with time, and he finds the pinball, who is tackled high. Alondra Johnson hits him immediately.
Well, this is something you expected, but let's take a look at this Toronto offense right now. On the offensive line, Chris Jaskis moves back in there. Dan Payne, Kislek, Verschavel, and Williams. Good offensive line, number 1 in the league. Backs and receivers, Daryl Mitchell, 1,000-yard receiver, surrounded by newcomer Jack Jackson, Kerwin Mazzotti, Clemens, and Demetrician.
Daryl Mitchell, 13 touchdown catches so far this year. Flutie, second and about 3. Staggered cadence, draws a flag, and has the pinball open in first down territory. McClanahan wrestles him to the ground, but he'll have the first down. Let's check the flag. Looks like offside Stampeders. Flutie using that staggered cadence.
Well, we've seen him do that a number of times, number of games.
Offside, Calgary 95. Penalties decline, first down.
He gets Jermaine Miles on this play, and what happens? This is a good time to use it because of the fact that they're really anxious to get after Doug Flutie. Here's the defensive line right there. Jeff Traversy, the newcomer, rookie starting Brunzell Miller, Marvin Pope, and newcomer Jermaine Miles. The linebackers led by colorful Anthony McClanahan, and the defensive backs with newcomer Jackie Kellogg back in the lineup.
Calgary defense on the toss to Jack Jackson in his 3rd game as an Argonaut. And the Stampeders read that. This Stampeder defense plays well against the Argos because they're like playing against their own team.
Well, they say that, but I don't know. I kind of take that with a drop in the hat kind of attitude. Here we watch this play. We got Anthony McClanahan, who does a really nice job fighting off a big tackle and coming back and making the play. And that's what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to defeat the offensive line, the big offensive line in Toronto at the point of attack, shed the blockers, and make the play.
Wally Buono did say about his defense, we can look at their plays and know what they're called. That's how close the offenses are. Flutie in the shotgun on 2nd and long. Pressure. Throws deep downfield. He's got Mazzotti, but the ball is stripped. Good coverage by Marvin Coleman, draped on him like a blanket.
And Mazzotti is getting up slow. We talked to him earlier. He's got some banged up ribs right now. He is not playing at 100%. Watch him coming off the line, does a nice juke move on Coleman, takes him to the outside. He's got some good speed, but Marvin Coleman, who's got tremendous speed, obviously returning punch, closes it quickly, gets an arm on it, causes the incompletion.
Marvin Coleman, who does it all, returns kicks and plays shadow defense for the Stampeders. Paul Massotti made his decision to play in the pregame warm-up. That's how sore his ribs were after taking a big shot 2 weeks ago against BC. Vanderjack's punt coming to Coleman, who just made the great play on defense. Now he's on special teams. A jig and a jag, cuts across the 35, and there are flags all over the play. Brendan Rogers, the big Canadian grinder, limits the return to 12 yards. And early in this game, we're still scoreless in Toronto. Paul Massotti walking off the pain on the Argos sideline. He told us in the pregame he sneezed yesterday at practice and the pain was almost unbearable. He thinks he's got a cartilage problem in his ribs.
Well, last week he took 4 catch, 40 yards, took some tremendous shots. You see Anthony McClanahan, a man guilty of the clipping infraction on the last punt return. He is fired up, and if we could get a close-up on that, you'll see he's got Doug Flutie, a number 2 on there, and he says he promises to see him a lot face-to-face.
Does that make Flutie a marked man? First down, and the Stampeders go up the gut, and Reggie Gibbons is waiting with open arms. Short gain of maybe 3 on the play. McClanahan, of course, last year against Doug Flutie, guilty of some late hits.
Well, he is one of the most, I want to say aggressive, but yet he's controlled. He's just colorful. And that's the best way to describe this guy. He's into wrestling. He just told me he's doing an acting gig.
What's that on his ear? The big
He's got
tipper?
more jewelry right there than Eaton Place. He's just doing, you know, he's a walking advertisement, I'm telling you.
Second and about 7 for the Stampeders, deep in their own territory. Pressure on Dickenson. He bails, turns, can't get away, and drops the ball. Bonner forced him down, and the Argos recover.
Well, we talked about this. Inexperience. Yes, he's got experience with the team, but inexperience in a starting role. We talked to Johnny Jenkins, who's the offensive coordinator of Toronto before the game. One of the things we said, what do you feel about Dave Dickenson? He said, you know what? Yes, he's a great quarterback. Yes, he's played great level at University of Montana, but he hasn't got a whole lot of game time in the CFL. This is what you see as a result.
Bonner makes the play to strip the ball here on a fleeing Dave Dickenson.
Danielson does a nice job of doing this, trying to give him some extra time to throw the ball. He is not that fleet of foot, trying to make something happen out of nothing. Gets the ball stripped. There's Antonius Bonner.
Bonner, who was replaced in the secondary by Charles Anthony a few weeks ago as the Argos sought to put more defensive back type speed in that secondary.
Well,
and he comes up big here.
They put Antonius Bonner on that, and they also use it for special teams. They think he's a phenomenal special teams player.
And so a huge turnover here early in the first quarter. Argos scrimmage first down at the Calgary 3-yard line. One man in the backfield, that's the pinball. He gets the handoff and crashes into the core of that Calgary defense.
Just a great surge by that whole defensive line. Alondra Johnson, Marvin Pope, they were fired up. Watching these guys pre-game, they were jacked. This is a great job. You see them coming in there and stuffing the play at the point of contact. Look at this right here. You see the handoff. Here comes Doug Flutie. He's going to give it to pinball. He's going to try cutting it back. Nowhere to go. Great job by Big Daddy Marvin Pope, limiting that with the rest of his teammates helping.
Second down. 3 to go. 2.5. Alondra Johnson, the vocal leader on this defense, exhorting his pals to stand tall here and stop the Argos. Flutie throws into the end zone. It's complete to pinball Clemens, and just barely for the touchdown.
Well, we've seen that play at least 2 or 3 times in the last couple of weeks, and they fly everybody outside. They just kind of like pinball sneak through the front of the offensive line. Doug just finds a great job, great concentration catching the ball between McClanahan and Johnson right here. Takes a good shot, hangs on for the touchdown.
And so the pinball, who in the last 2 games has had 5 touchdowns and more than 500 yards of offense, strikes early for the Argos as they make Calgary pay dearly for that miscue.
And that's something you can't do against this club. Toronto, a lot of people think they might be a little flat. They've got first place wrapped up. We talked about that. But you can't give them opportunities like this to take advantage, or you'll be behind the gun early.
The Argos up by 7. The Argos score first, and the most appreciated player in the park right now is this man, the diminutive Mike Pinball Clemens.
And I think the sign tells it all. 31 ways to win, and that's not too far off. Man does everything. He throws the ball, he runs the ball, he returns the ball. What more can he ask? He doesn't deliver the mail, but they're working on that.
For the third week in a row, he's carrying the mail for both he and Robert Drummond, who's still nursing the knee injury. Here's Marvin Coleman. Breaks a tackle around the turn, has got some room. Nice move, eludes 2 tacklers, and is finally crushed at center field by Lester Smith and Donald Smith. A 36-yard return of a 56-yard hoof.
Just a great job by Coleman. One of the things gives you instant field position after a bad event. This is what you want out of your offense. Pinball Clemens scoring another touchdown, Mr. Everything for Toronto. And one of the things I find truly amazing, he's tied with Henry Gizmo Williams of Edmonton with 20,825 total yards, which is the most ever in the long history of the CFL.
Well, that replay, what a move he made on Alondra Johnson to lose him at the goal line. Dave Dickenson at quarterback, the backup replacing Jeff Garcia, who is not starting today because of an infection in his elbow. Alan Pitts tries to one-hand the pass from Dickenson, and it's incomplete. Johnny Harris covering for the Argos.
And he comes right back to it. He says, you know what, we're not going to sit in the pocket, we're going to do a little roll. A lot of people might not expect this out of Dickenson, but he's going to go half roll, lead Alan Pitts. Again, it's a timing thing. Just a little bit far right now. The Argonauts, the defensive line, Andrew Stewart, 7 sacks coming to this game. Demetrius Maxey and Rob Waldrop. The linebacking crew, Givens, Benson, probably the most underrated outside linebacker, O'Shea and Marcelo Simmons. And that defensive backfield led by Johnny Harris with a big interception last week against Montreal.
Harris returning that pick to the 3-yard line, which set up the killer. Here comes the blitz from Johnny Harris, and there are flags on the play.
Well, they better hope that this is against Toronto, because if it wasn't, I think Dave Dickenson would have ate some of Demetrius Maxey's helmet.
Dave Ewell, the referee, this afternoon in Toronto.
Time count violation. Calgary number 15. Still second down.
And so, Chris, we see Dave Dickenson in his first start of the year thrust into this position just this morning when Garcia couldn't go.
Well,
having some trouble.
And the thing is, he's probably happy. He didn't have an incomplete pass. He's got one now. You know what I mean? He's got a fumble. He's got some things. He's just trying to work the dust out right now.
Dickenson in the shotgun, throws deep downfield, and he overthrows Alan Pitts by a country mile. Antonius Bonner on the coverage.
But I liked his decisions. He's making good decisions. He's got Alan Pitts going down the seam. He's got a couple steps. He just overthrows him on that one. Danny Barrett trying to push the cameras away. He's trying to make some adjustments on the sideline.
And what better guy to have in your corner than Danny Barrett?
And I'm, thinking about Danny Barrett. He was talking about earlier in the year about coming back and playing, and you wonder if this even entered their mind of dressing him as a third-string quarterback.
Well, he sure looks good in the warm-ups each week. The Argos have Adrian Smith deep. The pinball is not on punt cover today after taking a licking last week against Montreal. And Adrian Smith finds it tough going as he's trapped inside his 15-yard line, and a loss of 2 on the play after a 45-yard punt from Martino. Jason Clement with the tackle.
Well, that's his second tackle of the game right now. They're flying down there. They know that they want to win this game because they want to have an opportunity to still get first place. So they're not taking anything for granted in this game.
Look at Flutie's numbers on that opening drive. 4 of 5. Only needed 16 yards and finished it with the short touchdown pass to Mike Clemens. Flutie threw 3 interceptions the last time he played against the Calgary Stampeders.
And you got to get some pressure on him and rattle him, or else he's going to have that kind of day all day, and it's going to be a long day for Calgary.
The punt team gives Calgary good field position on defense here. The Argos scrimmaging on their 14-yard line. The handoff is to Mike Clemens, and the Red Sea parts for him right up the middle.
Nice job by that big offensive line in Toronto. Kislik, Payne, Verschable opening up a nice hole inside. Pinball does a nice job.
Marvin Pope makes the tackle on the pinball.
Watch Jaskis here right now. This is what he's doing. He's doing a cutoff block. What he's trying to do is keep McClanahan away from the point of attack. Nice job by him and Payne, keeping two guys from Calgary away and outside.
Manhandling him, in fact. Jaskis, who injured his ankle 2 weeks ago. Flutie up the gut. Look at the contact there in the middle.
Well, I'll tell you what. There's some buses coming here. Dan Payne, the former Olympic wrestler, he comes off the ball, and I'm going to tell you what, he buries Marvin Pope. Marvin Pope is not ready. One of the things, if you're in a trench, you better be ready to hit. If you're not, you're going to have more turf burns on your backside. Watch this play. Watch the coming off here. The guys are coming off. Does a great job, but to the left of your screen. Oh, a nice hit. Daryl Hall.
You wouldn't call any holding on that, would you? Here's Pinball turning the corner across the 30 to the 35-yard line before he's finally stopped.
There was a lot of hitting already. This is just start of the game. You can see there is no love lost between these two teams. They might have to meet in the Cup. They both think they deserve to be in the Cup, so they're trying to establish something right now.
Mike Clemens pushing 1,000 yards in the receptions department. Last week he broke his CFL record of 3,300 all-purpose.
33.90 to be a fact, and he's got 2 games to go yet, which is even scarier.
Flutie on the sneak, drops the ball, gets it back. Just in time with Alondra Johnson camped on his doorstep.
Well, you don't want to say that the Toronto or the Argo bounce, but I tell you, there's times this team is good, and to be good, you got to get the breaks, and they get the break here, right here. Doug Flutie just going off the right side behind Big Dan Payne, gets the ball stripped by 96, Bronzell Miller. You can see me just trying to follow the big offensive lineman. 96 reaches in, but lucky the ball hits a certain way and comes back toward him and not the other way.
First down, Argos. Flutie. Time. Finds Pinball again. And there's a flag on the play.
Well, they got face masking on Alondra Johnson.
Alondra Johnson guilty of grabbing the face mask, which is so dangerous.
Well, it is, and one of the things about Pinball is he's so short.
Face mask. Calgary, first down.
Is that when he stops on a dime, he catches the ball. He just turns on a dime, and you can see it. Watch him. He catches the ball, puts the brakes on. Now Alondra Johnson's in a chase position.
Wow.
Just gets, and that's dangerous right there. I tell you what, your vertebrae are not meant to swing in a 360-degree direction.
So far in this game, 7 of 11 plays have gone to Clemens.
You think they're going to use him today?
Home of the Big Gulp. First down now as the Argos move into Calgary territory. The fake this time to Pinball. Flutie looks wide side to Andre Kerwin. Nice move. Splits the Calgary defenders and gets another first down. An 18-yard pickup for the kid.
Well, you don't see Andre Doc Kerwin getting many catches. He's only got 19 coming in here. But what Flutie does such a nice job of is he gets the ball. He's got a pulling guard, sets up, looks, crossfield, long throw. Al Jordan is playing way off. Should play a little tighter, but if they're playing zone, he's just sitting deep, soft on him.
An example of how Flutie throws what some quarterbacks call the easy passes, making the receivers do the work.
Well, we talked about that. He does not like to throw the hard ones. He throws. He'll take what you give him.
Here's Flutie. The handoff this time to Pinball. What a move! Finally, McClanahan rides him down at about the 27-yard line.
Well, I mean, he's got our eyeball spinning up here. Watch this from your back room here. You're in your. He does it. Takes the ball. Watch this move. Oh, baby! I tell you what, you're grabbing air there. You got to be excited to watch this guy run the ball.
Johnson, who was fired up yesterday, a full 24 hours before the game.
He was just looking at his pad saying, "Make that tackle."
Second down and about 6. Argos. Flutie in the shotgun pursuit. Throws it deep. Touchdown. Toronto. Wide open.
Well, we have a flag on the far side of the field.
Calgary 95. Penalties decline. Touchdown.
Jermaine Miles called for offside. Once again, Flutie using his staggered count, and if Smiles get any bigger than that, I don't know where you'd find him.
Well, I tell you what, they got big Jermaine Miles offside, but John Kalin's going to come on your screen right here on a blitz. Leaves the middle open, and Ken Leonard, who's played his best game of the year last week, decides to let him go by, thinking or forgetting that Kalen's not there. Easy 7.
Point after by Mike Vanderjack is good, and so the Argos open a 14-0 lead with 2:42 to go in the first quarter of this game at the Skydome.
I tell you, one of the nicest things, Mark Lee, play-by-play, not only that, they pay you good money, they bring your whole family, and look at this. There's all the food, all the smiles. Look, they're looking for you. Where's Mark? I can read their lips, I'm telling you right now.
Apparently room service last night delivered a pizza that large to your room. Vanderjack squibs another line drive. Kelvin Anderson looks at it and lets it go out of bounds at the 5-yard line.
Nice job by Kelvin Anderson, taking a chance that ball would go out of bounds.
Dwayne Dimitrition, whose dad is in town from Saskatoon watching this one and is treated to a touchdown early.
Illegal kickoff. Toronto 13.
Well, that's his 3rd touchdown, and he still has the Argo team thing today for 78, the longest reception. As you can see right here, Ken Leonard and Al Jordan bite, thinking somebody's still behind him. This is a celebration. They like this Dimitrition kid. He's getting better every week.
How about Doug Flutie? 4 for 4 passing on that last drive for 54 yards, and the pass to Dwayne Dimitrition for the TD.
Well, he was 5 for 6 the first one and 4 for 4. Those are unbelievable stats, and say what you want about this guy, I don't think you're going to see him much better in quarterbacking.
There aren't many other Canadians in this league at the fullback running back position who are as productive as Dimitrition, who has the longest catch this year at 78 yards. Marvin Coleman is back deep.
Well, he's done his part. He's given these guys instant field position every time he's caught the ball.
The toss back to Coleman at full stride, crosses the 50, dropped down, and looked like he had some trouble holding on the ball on the way down.
And what I like about this is Marvin Pope, a lot of players, they never get to touch the football. They get it, they run. He's unselfish. He throws it back right down to Coleman, and Coleman picks up some extra yards.
Mike O'Shea with the tackle. He's number 2 and 26 special team tackles so far this year. And of course, coming up later tonight, a full slate on Hockey Night in Canada, of course. Washington at Montreal and Dallas at Toronto in the early one. It all starts at 7 with the pregame show and Ron McLean. And that'll be exciting, where our hopes and our thoughts go to Bob Cole, who's in hospital after suffering a heart attack in Newfoundland.
Big time. All our wishes and our prayers are with him and his family.
Dave Dickenson stays on the ground with his first down play at center field. Good field position for the young man to work from.
And I think what they got to do is they got to start establishing a run. You can see Dickinson gives Anderson the ball. Let's get the offensive line involved right now. O'Shea fights through the blocks, comes in there. They're swarming. Toronto's got one of the fastest, speediest defenses around right now.
Mike O'Shea tying up 3 blockers on that play.
With no rope.
Here comes the outside blitz. Marcelo Simmons. The ball is away and complete to Big Alan Pitts, and a first down for Calgary.
And I tell you what, Pitts made the great catch, but I tell you what, Danielson picks up the blitz and allows this pass to be thrown. This is a nice job. Faking outside, coming across the middle. Ball's on the money. Let Alan Pitts do what he does best after he catches. Get yards.
Calgary's first down of this football game on the 17-yard pass and run play to Alan Pitts. And look at this. He's pushing 1,000 yards. I mean, it would be a stretch with 2 games to go, but don't forget, he missed the first 6 games of the season.
Unbelievable statistics.
Here's Dickenson again. Goes to Danielson. It's complete. And then he's pulverized for a short game.
Well, a short game, but he's mixing it up. I like this. He's going over the middle. He's stretching the defense a little bit. He's going to the right. He's going to the left. Giving Anderson a little running ball. You know, this is what you got to do to beat Toronto. If you're going to stay with one thing, you're going to get killed.
Danny Barrett on the sidelines helping to put the game plan together for Dave Dickenson, who was named the winner of the Walter Payton Award as the outstanding player in Division 1AA football back in 1995. And a look at the brain trust in the spotters box for Calgary as they help nurture Dickenson through this game. More pressure, and he can't escape. Rob Waldrop, support from Lester Smith, and of course, big Andrew Stewart up the middle.
Well, that was tremendous pressure up the middle. He had initially good time let's give the defensive backs of Toronto credit right now. You can watch right here. They're keeping Danielson to block backside. He's got good protection originally. Can't find anybody. You're only allowed so many seconds. 3 to 4 seconds. That ball should be gone any longer, and you're on your own.
So that will stall the Stampeder drive and make it 3rd and about 14, but they are well within the range of field goal kicker Mark McLaughlin.
He wants to be used.
Stewart coming into the game, leading the club with 7. He'll get 8 for that one. McLaughlin attempting a 49-yard field goal. Lots of leg, and it's good.
Well, Mark McLaughlin, who is 31 of 43 coming in today, he's got a long one of 51, or 52, excuse me, so that is well within his distance. Again, there's no wind possession or no wind in here. This is a kicker's dream.
McLaughlin, who was unfortunate in having that field goal blocked in Edmonton 2 weeks ago on the last play of regulation, a ball that he hit with a low line drive trajectory, and on that one had lots of height, clearing the Argo defense.
I'm sure he went back and worked on that after the Cavis Reed block.
Tomorrow we'll be in Montreal, where the Blue Bombers take on the Alouettes. Lots of talk about whether Mike Pringle will play in the game after injuring his ribs 1 week ago here. It might be wise to rest him.
I don't think they should play Mike Pringle and save him for the playoffs. You cannot take a chance. He's a leading rusher in the league right now. The rib injuries are very difficult to heal.
1 second to go in the first quarter. Bluto, a 14-3 Argonaut lead as Calgary gets on the board, showing a little muster on offense for the first time in this game.
Well, they mixed it up a little bit, and that's what you're going to have to do. Toronto is bringing everything. They're blitzing almost every down, trying to throw new wrinkles at Dickenson.
Mike Pinball Clemens, who is not returning punts, is in deep on kickoff return for the Argos. McLaughlin sends it deep down the far sideline to the 20, and the Pinball's got it on his shoulder pads. Quick move, goes to the sideline, finds some open room, and is dragged down by Darryl Hall just shy of center field.
And one of the things about a kickoff return is you've got to sell that you're going into the inside. He gives an inside move, the whole team jumps, and then he takes it to the outside. That's how you get good yardage on a kickoff return.
Welcome back to the Skydome in Toronto, and there are the first quarter stats brought to you by Canadian Tire, and a glaring discrepancy in first downs in favor of the Argos. And look at the rushing department. Kelvin Anderson yet to make an impact in this game for the Stampeders.
They've only rushed him a couple times. I think you got to get him in there. You got to start establishing that line of scrimmage right now to open up the passing game. I mean, you can't live with 3 yards pass or 3 yards rushing, excuse me.
There's Dave Dickenson chatting with Alan Pitts, and number 16, that's Henry Burris, who will be the backup here today to Dickenson. He holds 20 records at Temple University, but he's very green. Wearing red. Fake, Flutie rolls. Johnson sniffs it out, and Flutie throws it way out of bounds. Good coverage on the play by the Stampeder secondary.
And a nice job by Alondra Johnson not biting on that fake. He's talked a little bit yesterday about the fact that he's got to be responsible for Doug Flutie if he takes off with the ball. He just does an extension of that. Flutie rolls out, he falls in parallel and comes and gets in his face and makes Doug toss that ball away where nobody can catch it.
Alondra Johnson, who said he told his teammates yesterday, we came here on Thursday a day early, not to have fun in Toronto, but to be prepared for this football game, and he has been inspirational on defense. Keeping his eye on ex-teammate Doug Flutie. Flutie deep, wide open. Mike Clemens makes a move, evades the tackle by Kenton Leonard, and is gone. "56 yards. Pass and run. Flutie to the pinball."
Well, we talked about this. One of the keys, they got to play disciplined, smart football, error-free football. Again, another breakdown. Pinball comes from the backfield, it's wide open down the field. Kenton Leonard fails to make the tackle, and another easy jaunt into the end zone for Toronto. And they've been doing this week in and week out, almost like it's a scripted play. But teams just keep, either they get too wound up, too tight, but they keep making mistakes at crucial times against Toronto.
The Stampeders had gone back to the veteran Kenton Leonard after he'd been replaced by the rookie William Hampton, who had 4 interceptions, 4th on the club, but he was getting picked on as a cornerback. That's why they decided to go back to Leonard, and he's getting burned here today by this guy. Mike Clemens with his 2nd touchdown of the game, and the Argos open a big lead.
Boy, Robert Drummond.
You're looking at Robert Drummond, who has been miserable, I would say, this week because he's now sitting out his 3rd straight game, convalescing from knee surgery. But, you know, his buddy Mike Pinball Clemens is scoring and doing enough for both of them, already up to 138 all-purpose yards in this football game.
That's unbelievable statistics, and you're right, Robert Drummond wants to be part of the fun, and it's just got to eat him up right now.
Drummond telling me the other day that deep down he would have liked to have had that milestone of 1,000 yards receiving and rushing, but it's not worth risking the football career for that. Marvin Coleman takes some heavy hitting and is knocked out of bounds at about the 45-yard line by George Namako. 33-yard return on the play.
Well, one thing, you gotta love Pinball. One of the things I like about Pinball is what he does after he catches the ball. Watch him, he gets the ball right here, and he starts to run. Now freeze it right here. Now watch the tackling position. You see Pinball Clemens puts his head down where you can't grab him. He's so low to the ground. If you don't wrap up the legs, you can't get to the legs. He's going to move on, and he does that for a touchdown.
When Don Matthews signed Jack Jackson, he said he really liked the fact he was a kick returner because that tells him what he can do with the ball after he catches it.
Big time.
And there's an example there with the pinball earning a touchdown on his own. The Stampeders play it safe as Kelvin Anderson takes a flat pass from Dave Dickenson, but Don Smith was there to fill.
Well, they're going to have to do something. As you said, 56-yard reception by Clemens, his 2nd touchdown of the game, his 10th of the season via the pass. He's got 4 rushing. I mean, if we had an hour, I could talk about all the statistics. He just got so many of them. I mean, they're going to have a hard time picking an MVP out of Toronto. I'm just going to tell you that right now.
Robert Drummond still leads the league in touchdowns with 18, and he hasn't played now in 3 games.
How many times can you use unbelievable in one sentence? That's what I want to say.
I'll keep a tally here. Here's Dickenson. 2nd and long. The outstretched arms. Travis Moore can't bring it in with Johnny Harris riding on his coattails.
You know what's an interesting stat, Mark, is we talked about earlier in the game, they said, the coaches of Calgary, that is, that they wanted to go to Terry Vaughn early and often, and yet we have not seen them go yet to Terry Vaughn. Number 2 has been silent.
Dickenson has favored Pitts and Travis Moore, and Terry Vaughn has been cooling off in the wings.
Now, you know, one of the things they say is, as they call a procedure, one of the things they say is the fact is your quarterback gets comfortable with certain receivers, certain routes, it's timing. They work after practice running routes. Who has Dickenson been working with? I mean, we haven't seen him go to Danielson all that much except for 1 play, Pitts a couple times. But again, I still think the key fact, number 2, Terry Vaughn has got to get into this game.
That's the question I asked you earlier. How many reps does a backup get in a short week? Not much. And John Jenkins, the Argos offensive coordinator, mentioned that to us in the pregame. Adrian Smith on the return and a flag on the play.
They had Aldi Henry for no yards.
40-yard punt and a 16-yard return. Dwayne Ford making the tackle.
Well, if it is Aldi Henry, boy, I tell you, his name is getting famous on these broadcasts, but not for the right reasons.
Perhaps the word is infamous.
Infamous.
No yards. Calgary number 9. Penalties declined. 1st down.
You named it, Pluto.
Well,
Henry.
He's had some rough going, I tell you, early on. He's a rookie. He's had 3 face mask penalties in the last 2 games, and now he's got a no yards, and that's just over eagerness.
Mike Clemens snapping back after a brutal game last week in Montreal. Look at this shot he takes from Ray Bernard. Another look close up. Pinball said his left hand went numb.
I'm surprised it's only his left hand went numb.
You're looking at live action now. The Pinball takes another shot and is down.
This is like watching those tough man contests right down there. Pinball's making guys just go crazy. They're coming out of their shoes. Everybody's trying to take a shot at him. He doesn't care. He'll bounce, he'll make, he'll duke, he'll dive, as you said. Takes 3-4 guys. Watch this play. Gets the ball. His eyes, peripheral vision, unbelievable. He's going left, he's going right. I can't even talk. Here he goes. Makes Jermaine Miles miss. Comes back inside. You got a gang tackle, that's what we're doing. But he's in the meantime, he's taking some tremendous pounding.
Kellogg and Miles put the shot on him there. Here's Flutie, bails it out to Pinball again. This time there are 7 Stampeders waiting for him. and Kellogg is the first to make contact again.
And that's what this Calgary defense has got to do. Take away Doug's primary routes. Make him turn to his outlet pass, which at that time was Pinball Clemens.
Jackie Kellogg, who was placed on the practice roster on October 8th, played the World League last year and played 5 games with Tampa in arena football, and isn't he a timely arrival for the Stampeders here, playing in the nickel back defense?
Well, one of the nice things about getting a guy like him back is if due to injury, or like you say, when you got 6 receivers, he can go in there and do the job and do it effectively.
That's what they need today. They need speed in the secondary, but so far the Stamps have not been able to corral the Argos, who lead 23-1. Marvin Coleman back to take a squib punt from Vanderjack. He's got it across the 30. Gets a block, and the Argos, with good coverage on that punt, limit the gain to 10 yards on a 42-yard boot. Vanderjack, here comes Dave Dickenson. Back at the Sky Dome in Toronto, and it's standing room only here in the booth. The biggest hands in the league, right over here, and the best hands back in 1989, the Grey Cup game, one of the most exciting, and Austin goes back to pass and finds Jeff Fairholm deep. There's interference on the play, but he still comes down with the ball and goes 75 yards for a touchdown.
Look at the speed on that boy. I'll tell you, he should be out there playing right now. Never mind.
Let's see those hands. Look at that. He's got a few nicks, but they're still pretty good.
That's good looking lad.
You know, that 89 Grey Cup game has received the most votes so far in the balloting for the 5 classics to play. We will replay during Grey Cup weekend. No wonder a great 43-40 win by the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Dave Dickenson looking tentative there, looking for Alan Pitts. Good coverage by Johnny Harrison. Nearly got his hands on.
One of the things is when you roll to one side of the field, you limit your field of vision, your area you can throw to. He's only got one place he can put this ball. Pitts is trying to work. He does a nice job originally of getting away from Harris. Goes down trying to catch the ball. But Harris, the good athlete that he is, watch the measures Maxey come right through Fred Childress. You don't see very often. Nice job of picking up by Calvin Anderson on Maxey, allowing Dickinson to get to the outside originally.
Maxey steamrollered 3 Calgary blockers en route to the corner. So it's second and long. Dickinson flying on the play. He's got time, makes up his mind, and throws it off to the flats. And Travis Moore brings it down, but he's going to be just shy of the first down. Adrian Smith and Ken Benson limit the game.
Well, we also have an illegal procedure on Calgary again. And this is just not working with the quarterback, not used to his timers, the voice.
Illegal procedure. Calgary number 18. Penalties decline. Third down.
I remember as a lineman, one of the things, the toughest things to do is you get in there and you got a new quarterback in there. He's got a different cadence style. Some guys are fast, rapid fire. Other guys like to really enunciate each hut. And as a result, you have a hard time anticipating when to leave, and especially for a slot back who's trying to leave the line of scrimmage as the ball is actually hutted. It causes some problems for you.
Body language looking down on the Calgary bench at this point. They trail 21-3 to the Argos. As Martino gets away a wobbly punt to Adrian Smith. And it goes out of bounds at about the 37-yard line of the Argos. Decent field position for Doug Flutie and company. A 29-yard squib by Martino.
Very un-Martino-like, who leads the league, has surpassed Vanderjack, taking the number 1 spot in the punting division at 45.3 average. But that will definitely not help that average. He might go down shortly.
Martino with the longest punt so far of 79. Vanderjack, his counterpart, who has a longest punt of 80. So 2 big legs, Budo, in this one. Flutie loves the shotgun, gives him good field position and vision. He's tipped. He's still high by 87.
Well, if you're going to rush 3 guys and you're going to play in that deep zone, you're going to have to tighten that zone up because they're finding seams in it right now, guys. Are just wide open.
Darryl Mitchell, the rookie, is a 26-yard gain. Look at the protection.
Well, you can see Doug's got all the time to throw. Jeff Travis coming into your screen, but Mitchell finds the seam, just sits down right in there. Kalen and McClanahan, who's dropping in his linebacking position to make the play, but they're going to have to tighten up either that or go to a little man coverage. Mix it up.
Flutie nearly perfect so far. Good on 10 of 12 for 147 and 2 touchdowns. This time he heads off the pinball. He reverses field and is stacked up. The bear hug on the play. Jermaine Miles and then a on-time rodeo move. And pinball, you don't usually see him upset like that.
Well, this is what Calgary, I hate to see this kind of thing. A flag came down before this, but look at the emotion. I mean, that's what you want. If you're Calgary and you're down, you want to do something to pick your team up. This is sometimes a good penalty, even though it's not even called on him. It's called on Toronto for holding.
Jermaine Miles.
Holding. Toronto number 65. First down repeated.
Big Willie Williams with the Bear Club on him, but this is what you want to do. You want as a defense to get fired up, get in their face, start talking trash, get your teammates fired up. Sometimes it's a little lethargic. You can see right here, Jermaine Miles has got it now. Pinball, look at the strength of his legs, and actually, the whistle had gone or that would have been a fumble. That's one of the risks you take when you stay up and don't go down, but pinball will never go down.
He ropes and ties pinball on that play. The Argos with the penalty on this first down and 20 situation. Pressure, and once again, Traversy gets one of his mitts up in front of the Flutie pass. That's twice now Jeff Traversy has gotten up and in the way of Doug's trajectory.
Good. Watch this pass rush. Here we go. We got Jermaine Miles. They really like this kid. But Willie Williams does a great job of, one, getting his hands on the numbers. There's nowhere you can, especially if you got those long arms that Willie Williams has. He's a big man at 300. They say 300. I guarantee he's pressing 330, but he's got the long digits right there, and he's keeping Jermaine off the passer.
If that's the case, Miles is giving up 60 pounds in this confrontation, which is turning into a doozy. Whistles on the play, flags, and somebody jumped the gun at the line. Here's Dave Ewing. Still trying to sort it out.
Offside. Calgary number 91.
Big Marvin Pope gets called for.
Well, Marvin saw something here, but there might have been a little movement by the receiver on Toronto. He's up here, right here. You can see right here. There he is. He just sees Demetrician and the other guy's leaving. They leave early. He goes. I don't know about that call right there.
Demetrician was 2 or 3 strides across the line of scrimmage. Second and 15, Flutie across the line. And more. Well, the day for Mike Clemens. Hauled down by Marvin Coleman with some assists for the secondary.
Let's just talk about one thing. Let's just say what a half, first half. 7 for 109 yards already for Paul Clemens. I don't know what the record. We see he had 15 last couple weeks where he had 15 catches. He's well on the way to that right now. You can see right now Doug Flutie sets back right across the middle. He's got coverage. Alondra Johnson's trying to run with it, but
that's what you call
a great job. And then again, the gang tackling. So reminiscent of anybody trying to tackle pinball.
That's what you call threading the needle. Here's Flutie again. In the corner, Ken Leonard dumps Demetrician, but there's no flag.
Well, I'm actually glad there's no flag. He tripped. It's an accidental thing. Far too many times we see a receiver go downfield to catch ankles, and they see the referee call flag. You see him right now. Watch this at the lower end of your screen right here. That's Ken Leonard knocking the ball out of bounds.
Demetrician's prone.
He's prone on the ground, but he caught his ankle, and that's a good call. Good decision by the referee, the line judge.
Ken Leonard, the veteran, clawing his way back into the game. What a record for the Argos. On pace to break their record of 15-3 set last year. Flutie into the end zone for Daryl Mitchell on his high.
That was a nice job by Al Jordan coming up top, knocking the ball away from Daryl Mitchell. Daryl actually thought he was open. He's coming right down. He's going to break in the middle. He's looking for the goalpost right now. He's looking for the goalpost. Al Jordan does a great job of getting back and getting that left paw in the middle.
How about Eddie Davis?
Eddie Davis, excuse me.
Oh, he says. That's close.
Pretty good in the broad jump, I think, right there. He got some length in that. I hear he's an excellent basketball player. You can see that he's got some vertical ability.
Got some Air Jordan there, and a little bit of a curtsy or something at the end of it. Here's Vanderjack attempting a 29-yard field goal, and he splits the uprights. The Argos open a 24-3 lead with 6:29 to go in the first half. Who would have thought that Don Matthews would blow out Wally Quanto the way he is so far? There he is, the Darth Vader of pro football in this country.
Watch this. Jack Jackson coming across. He's watching him. Keep your head on swivel, son. Anthony McClanahan is going to knock you out, and that sometimes will never get called by the referee because it's away from the play.
Ouch, he said. Didn't see it coming. Kickoff taken by Coleman. Crosses the 15. Has a posse in front. Gets a seam. And finally makes it to the 40-yard line. A 27-yard return of a 62-yard kickoff. And Coleman once again is giving the Calgary offense decent field position. Dickenson in this game, 3 of 7 so far for 16 yards. Jets are upstairs watching today because of the infected left elbow that became infected after a turf burn. On these fields, sometimes they can be septic. They're dirty.
Well, you don't really see them. You see them wet them down. You don't see them wash them. And even when they do wash them, they wash them with detergent that can't, as you say, get infected into your body.
Those owning time of possession. Dickenson stretches the defense. Picks us open. When do you see that?
You'll never see that. I should have said that.
Ron Waldrop with pressure on Dickenson. He hung in, delivered a nice pass.
Well, you can see he's just down. He's got Antonius Bonner. Just takes it to the outside, fakes like he's going to run an outside route, comes back inside. Bonner's in the chase position. That's an easy grab. You can talk to him anytime, and he'll make sure he knows he should have had that one.
Waldrop and Stewart making Dickenson pay the price as he hung in the pocket and threw a beauty.
Well, I'll tell you what, that was a nice throw. He paid the price.
Alan Pitts has caught 1 of the last 5 balls thrown in his direction. Second and long, Stampeders. Dickenson in the shotgun.
Vicious is not the word. That might be a manslaughter.
There's a flag on the play.
That could be offside right here. I think that Johnny Harris lined up right outside.
Toronto number 7.
Well, no wonder.
Well, I tell you what, he's offside now on this play. He is offside. You give a guy a rough play on this too. I mean, if he's offside, you can see right here, Dickenson doesn't even see him. It's for the. He's coming right here. Watch this. Oh my God. Mama Mill, who called it wrong?
And you can hear the go up here as the replay was shown on the Jumbotron. Here it is again. Whack.
Well, they just brought too many guys there, and nobody can pick up Johnny Harris. Bam.
I agree with you. That's almost like an intentional no-yard situation. Maybe they should double the yardage on it. It's 2nd and 5. Dickenson is okay. Throws deep on the pump. He's got Terry Vaughn. It's picked off. Doug Smith comes up forward in front of Terry Vaughn. The ball is overthrown. Once again, O'Shea and Stewart in Dickinson's face.
Well, the height of the defensive backs. We talked about this. They're all 6 feet plus. Watch Pitzel. He wants to go to Pitts. Johnny Harris is out like an old glove. Throws it over. Harry Vaughn, first time they got to him, but the thing about having a height on your defensive backfield is you have to drop the ball into the bucket. It's kind of like being at the county fair. You're trying to put the ball in the bucket, baby. You can't put it anywhere else or they'll grab it.
Harry Vaughn, 5 foot 8 inches against the 6 foot defender, Don Smith. There's another shot.
Well, he's taking a beat and he stayed in there.
Dave Dickenson has been taking a beating. The give now to the pinball as the Argos take over on another turnover. Well, McClanahan, there you see the code on the side of his head, D2F. That's Doug Flutie, number 2.
I don't know if I'd want Anthony McClanahan walking around. He'd probably put your phone number out there, Mark Lee. You can see him, he keeps fighting, he's working his way through, and he comes through and makes a play on that. He is fired up. He will always give you 100%. He's very colorful, and he loves the attention.
Dennis Rodman, also of the CFL. McClanahan with a steady gaze on defense. Flutie steps into the pocket across the middle, and McClanahan again puts a lick on Jack Jackson.
Well, they're playing smart. This is what you got to do. If you're going to rush 3, tighten your zone package. Don't spread it out so they can find whole seams to sit and catch the ball. Watch McClanahan here. He's got his eye on the quarterback. He's watching whatever's coming across the middle. He sees it right now. Bam! He's up there with the London Johnson making the play, limiting the game, punting situation for Toronto.
Good defense. McClanahan, look at him. He's still winded. He has been playing his heart out in this game.
Well, you got to get that from your veterans, and that's what they got to do. Everybody else has got to pick it up. Dickinson's trying to stay in there, hang in and throw the ball.
Vanderjack, Coleman back to receive this run. He's been averaging 46.5 and gets a skyrocket. Pushes Coleman inside his 30. Breaks the first tackle, gets a seam up the middle, has some speed, and crosses the 50-yard line. Once again, yeoman work by Marvin Coleman. A 23-yard return of a 55-yard punt. Bonner and Harris make the tackle.
And watch Michael Shea. Michael Shea's coming down here. You can see John Raposo. They're all trying to square up, stop, settle down. But Coleman, this is something you just can't teach. We've had guys in Winnipeg, I remember over here, trying to find a quality punt returner, kickoff returner. This is God-given talent right here.
Coming up on the halftime, we'll visit with Frank Clare, the coaching legend who holds the record, 147 wins all time, currently tied with Don Matthews with a win here today. Don Matthews takes over as the most successful coach. Dickinson in trouble. Breaks out of the pocket, he'll run with it. Goes down at center field, a gain of maybe 3 yards in the play, and Mike O'Shea, a frightening thought, is waiting for him.
Well, he just, Rob Waldron just runs straight over Jay McNeil. I mean, you got to stop this guy. You cannot let this guy go like this right now, or Dickinson will not have enough time to throw the ball, and you'll be stopped early.
Skydome in Toronto. Kelvin Anderson 1 week ago went over 1,000 yards rushing for the second season in a row, but in this game so far, he's rushed the ball twice on handoffs from backup quarterback Dave Dickenson for only 4 yards. 1 catch for -3.
Well, you cannot win football games throwing the ball every down. You allow Canada to do certain things on defense.
Vince Danielson, who himself went over 1,000 yards for the first time in his career this season, last week at home, gets his catch and gets a first down for Calgary. Big target at 6'4".
Well, big time. You got to use this guy. The big thing is, getting back to Anderson. Last week, 21 carries for 71 yards. The fact is, you get the offensive lineman to start coming off the ball rather than sitting back in a pass mode.
Danielson ran 93 yards last week. Filling the shoes of Dave Dickenson, who retired. Dickinson in trouble. And is knocked down by Rob Waldron.
Well, somebody better get a hold of Moses because the Red Sea is starting right here. And this is unbelievable. You've got to get a little bit better protection right now. They're bringing different looks. I understand that. You got a new guy in there. I understand that. You can watch right here. The running twist. Michael Shea just comes on a back blitz. They got Reggie Gibbons coming from the outside. Rob Waldron wraps him up. You can see Marcelo Simmons. It is a sea of blue in there, and they're giving the big boys in red a rough time right now.
Dave Dickenson forced into the starting role with the sudden departure and scratch in the pregame of Jeff Garcia, who has a viral infection. He's having to be a quick study here. That time he goes to Travis Moore on the hot route, and it's good. And very close to the line of scrimmage.
The original line of scrimmage, that is. And the big thing about that is, that's Travis Moore recognizes they're bringing too many guys. Reggie Gibbons is up there. They got Marcelo Simmons up there. You're going to have to do some adjustment. He comes in.
Johnny Harris has been having an aggressive day on defense for Toronto. You saw Moore leading with his arm dangling. It looks like it's hurt.
Well, this defense takes turns of making stars on the defensive backs. If it's not Marcelo Simmons, it's Lester Smith, there's Johnny Harris, it's Adrian Smith, or one of the other Smith brothers. They all are involved in the package. They understand each other's assignment. And not only do they understand how it works, the biggest thing is they understand why it works.
Mark McLaughlin will attempt a 52-yard field goal. That would be the longest of the year for him. Dickinson the hold, lots of leg, good distance, and it's good. Mark McLaughlin 2 for 2 on the afternoon, and the only scoring machine so far today for the Stampeders. They trail Toronto 24-6 with 1:26 to go in the first half.
Well, they're taking one of the things that's happening in this game so far. There's Vince Danielson. They're taking Vince Danielson out of the game and not allowing him to be the primary receiver. Watch his blocking. Here he's got to get a shot on Gibbons, a shot on Bonner. He's trying to block. They're keeping him in there right now. They know if they bring too many defenders, he's got to stay in there. Watch this job. Lester Smith had a great job of throwing his body on Marcelo Simmons. Again, the third time he comes back. Now he's picking up Lester Smith, the strong safety. finally gets out, gets a pass. But what they're doing, what Toronto's doing, is negating or not allowing Danielson to become a factor in the pass catching categories, making him turn into an extra offensive lineman.
I just feel like he's playing in traffic out there.
Well, he's been working on his guns. You can see his guns right here. He's got some good biceps going here, baby. And I tell you what, next year they're going to be bigger if he has to block like this all game.
Vince Danielson forced into a blocking role. At times not knowing which way to look.
Well, he knows which way to look. The protection is called inside out, which means he takes the inside guard first, tries to knock him off, direction him, and come back outside. I think he's done an excellent job of being able to block two people when your normal assignment is one. You got to give full kudos to Vince Danielson.
So far, Mike Clemens gets full marks for his assignment today. Touchdowns already in the first half, and he's the lone man back deep to return this kick from Mark McLaughlin. At his own 13, the pin down, winds it up. Runs right into traffic, bounces back some tackles. And again, some aggressive coverage on the play. Aldi Henry breaks the tackle. A 25-yard return. There are flags on the play as tempers flare.
Big Raymond Biggs involved in the altercation. There's a lot of ugliness out there right now, a lot of bad feelings going on. Calgary did not expect, one, probably not to be without Jeff Garcia, but two, to be down by a 24-6 count at this time in the game. And you can see that on special teams, they're taking exception to the way they're being blocked. A lot of tempers are flaring out there.
Back on August 7th, it was a close football game at the half. 23-21. Calgary.
Big foul, unnecessary roughness. Toronto number 36. Objectionable conduct. Calgary number 44. First down.
Lester Smith and Raymond Biggs, and here's what happened.
As you can see, Biggs is just fighting off Lester Smith right now. Lester Smith is all over. He got a little glove in there right now. Keeps working. A little face jack. Oh boy, I tell you what. Tough man contest going out there. Who can dent the face mask? Don't be scared though. You can't hurt yourself with those masks. It looks worse than it really is.
Mike Clemens now 194 yards all purpose in the first half. Flutie looking for Paul Masadi. He one-hops it.
And a nice job by Calgary doing something a little different. They're bringing number 17 on a blitz right from the outside. That's what you got to do to try and switch it up a little bit. You can't give him the same look every time or Flutie will just kill you.
That's what he's doing. Look at those numbers.
Well, 3 touchdowns, first half, 177 yards. Only 42 yards for Dickenson right now, but I still think Dickenson has to involve the running game a little bit more to try and take some of the pressure off him when he's throwing the ball.
Marvin Coleman is step for step with the deep ball today, playing on the corner and running back kicks. Flutie steps up and looks deep down the sideline. With coverage that could be any closer than it did.
I'll tell you what. He needed 77 yards to beat Rocket Ismail's record of 1,300 yards receiver for a rookie. He's on that way. Whoops, just kind of dually dogs along a little bit around there. Davis gets a little stop, stutter step. Tremendous concentration. That's the thing that impresses me most about this guy. This is not a rookie out there making catches. This is a veteran.
And that's a standard to match the Rocket. Mitchell now 9 yards short of the mark with 68. Flutie scrambling, looking for the first down marker. McClanahan tracking him down, and he gets out of bounds.
Well, I think Doug Flutie, had it been anybody else, would have tried to turn it up. He sees McClanahan coming off him. He knows he's got his face painted for war. He says, I'm taking this wagon, I'm turning it up.
And so Flutie with a 6-yard gain. McClanahan ran about 60 yards trying to chase him out of bounds.
Well, these are two gifted athletes, both of them, on both sides of the ball right now. Both McClanahan with his speed and Flutie with his speed and smarts.
Mentioned he's got the face painted for war. A 49-yard field goal. Lots of leg, and it's good.
Well, Mark McLaughlin, who is 31 of 43 coming in today, he's got a long one of 51, or 52, excuse me, so that is well within his distance. Again, there's no wind possession or no wind in here. This is a kicker's dream.
McLaughlin, who was unfortunate in having that field goal blocked in Edmonton 2 weeks ago on the last play of regulation, a ball that he hit with a low line drive trajectory, and on that one had lots of height, clearing the Argo defense.
I'm sure he went back and worked on that after the Cavis Reed block.
Tomorrow we'll be in Montreal, where the Blue Bombers take on the Alouettes. Lots of talk about whether Mike Pringle will play in the game after injuring his ribs 1 week ago here. It might be wise to rest him.
I don't think they should play Mike Pringle and save him for the playoffs. You cannot take a chance. He's a leading rusher in the league right now. The rib injuries are very difficult to heal.
1 second to go in the first quarter. Bluto, a 14-3 Argonaut lead as Calgary gets on the board, showing a little muster on offense for the first time in this game.
Well, they mixed it up a little bit, and that's what you're going to have to do. Toronto is bringing everything. They're blitzing almost every down, trying to throw new wrinkles at Dickenson.
Mike Pinball Clemens, who is not returning punts, is in deep on kickoff return for the Argos. McLaughlin sends it deep down the far sideline to the 20, and the Pinball's got it on his shoulder pads. Quick move, goes to the sideline, finds some open room, and is dragged down by Darryl Hall, just shy of center field.
And one of the things about a kickoff return is you've got to sell that you're going into the inside. He gives an inside move, the whole team jumps, and then he takes it to the outside. That's how you get good yardage on a kickoff return.
Welcome back to the Skydome in Toronto, and there are the first quarter stats brought to you by Canadian Tire, and a glaring discrepancy in first downs in favor of the Argos. And look at the rushing department. Kelvin Anderson yet to make an impact in this game for the Stampeders.
They've only rushed him a couple times. I think you got to get him in there. You got to start establishing that line of scrimmage right now to open up the passing game. I mean, you can't live with 3 yards pass or 3 yards rushing, excuse me.
There's Dave Dickenson chatting with Alan Pitts, and at number 16, that's Henry Burris, who will be the backup here today to Dickenson. He holds 20 records at Temple University, but he's very green. Wearing red. Fake, Flutie rolls. Johnson sniffs it out, and Flutie throws it way out of bounds. Good coverage on the play by the Stampeders secondary.
And a nice job by Alondra Johnson not biting on that fake. He's talked a little bit yesterday about the fact that he's got to be responsible for Doug Flutie if he takes off with the ball. He just does an extension of that. Flutie rolls out, he follows him parallel, and comes and gets in his face and makes Doug toss that ball away where nobody can catch it.
Alondra Johnson, who said he told his teammates yesterday, we came here on Thursday a day early, not to have fun in Toronto, but to be prepared for this football game, and he has been inspirational on defense. Keeping his eye on ex-teammate Doug Flutie. Flutie deep, wide open. Mike Clemens makes a move, evades the tackle by Kenton Leonard, and is gone. 56 yards. Pass and run. Flutie to the pinball.
Well, we talked about this. One of the keys, they got to play disciplined, smart football, error-free football. Again, another breakdown. Pinball comes from the backfield, it's wide open down the field. Kenton Leonard fails to make the tackle, and another easy jaunt into the end zone for Toronto. And they've been doing this week in and week out, almost like it's a scripted play. But teams just keep, either they get too wound up, too tight, but they keep making mistakes at crucial times against Toronto.
The Stampeders had gone back to the veteran Kenton Leonard after he'd been replaced by the rookie William Hampton, who had 4 interceptions, 4th on the club, but he was getting picked on as a cornerback. That's why they decided to go back to Leonard, and he's getting burned here today by this guy. Mike Clemens with his 2nd touchdown of the game, and the Argos open a big lead.
Boy, Robert Drummond.
You're looking at Robert Drummond, who has been miserable, I would say, this week because he's now sitting out his 3rd straight game, convalescing from knee surgery. But, you know, his buddy Mike Pinball Clemens is scoring and doing enough for both of them, already up to 138 all-purpose yards in this football game.
That's unbelievable statistics, and you're right, Robert Drummond wants to be part of their fun, and it's just got to eat him up right now.
Drummond telling me the other day that deep down he would have liked to have had that milestone of 1,000 yards receiving and rushing, but it's not worth risking the football career for that. Marvin Coleman takes some heavy hitting and is knocked out of bounds at about the 45-yard line by George Namako. 33-yard return on the play.
Well, one thing, you gotta love Pinball. One of the things I like about Pinball is what he does after he catches the ball. Watch him, he gets the ball right here, and he starts to run. Now freeze it right here. Now watch the tackling position. You see Pinball Clemens puts his head down where you can't grab him. He's so low to the ground. If you don't wrap up the legs, you can't get to the legs, he's going to move on, and he does that for a touchdown.
When Don Matthews signed Jack Jackson, he said he really liked the fact he was a kick returner because that tells him what he can do with the ball after he catches it.
Big time.
And there's an example there with the pinball earning a touchdown on his own. The Stampeders play it safe as Kelvin Anderson takes a flat pass from Dave Dickenson, but Don Smith was there to fill.
Well, they're going to have to do something. As you said, 56-yard reception by Clemens, his 2nd touchdown of the game, his 10th of the season via the pass. He's got 4 rushing. I mean, if we had an hour, I could talk about all the statistics. He just got so many of them. I mean, they're going to have a hard time picking an MVP out of Toronto. I'm just going to tell you that right now.
Robert Drummond still leads the league in touchdowns with 18, and he hasn't played now in 3 games.
How many times can you use unbelievable in one sentence? That's what I want to say.
I'll keep a tally here. Here's Dickenson. 2nd and long. The outstretched arms. Travis Moore can't bring it in with Johnny Harris riding on his coattails.
You know what's an interesting stat, Mark, is we talked about earlier in the game, they said, the coaches of Calgary, that is, that they wanted to go to Terry Vaughan early and often, and yet we have not seen them go yet to Terry Vaughan. Number 2 has been silent.
Dickenson has favored Pitts and Travis Moore, and Terry Vaughan has been cooling off in the wings.
You know, one of the things they say is, as they call a procedure, one of the things they say is the fact is your quarterback gets comfortable with certain receivers, certain routes, it's timing. They work after practice running routes. Who has Dickenson been working with? I mean, we haven't seen him go to Danielson all that much except for one play, Pitts a couple times. But again, I still think the key fact, number 2, Terry Vaughan has got to get into this game.
That's the question I asked you earlier. How many reps does a backup get in a short week? Not much. And John Jenkins, the Argos offensive coordinator, mentioned that to us in the pregame. Adrian Smith on the return and a flag on the play.
They had Aldi Henry for no yards.
40-yard punt and a 16-yard return. Dwayne Ford making the tackle.
Well, if it is Aldi Henry, boy, I tell you, his name is getting famous on these broadcasts, but not for the right reasons.
Perhaps the word is infamous.
Infamous.
No yards. Calgary number 9. Penalties declined. 1st down.
You named it, Ludo.
Well,
Henry.
He's had some rough going, I tell you, early on. He's a rookie. He's had 3 face mask penalties in the last 2 games, and now he's got a no yards, and that's just over eagerness.
Mike Clemens snapping back after a brutal game last week in Montreal. Look at this shot he takes from Ray Bernard. Another look close up. Pinball said his left hand went numb.
I'm surprised it's only his left hand went numb.
You're looking at live action now. The Pinball takes another shot and is down.
This is like watching those tough man contests right down there. Pinball's making guys just go crazy. They're coming out of their shoes. Everybody's trying to take a shot at him. He doesn't care. He'll bounce, he'll make, he'll duke, he'll dive, as you said. Takes 3-4 guys. Watch this play. Gets the ball. His eyes, peripheral vision, unbelievable. He's going left, he's going right. I can't even talk. Here he goes. Makes Jermaine Miles miss. Comes back inside. You got a gang tackle, that's what they're doing. But in the meantime, he's taking some tremendous pounding.
Kellogg and Miles put the shot on him there. Here's Flutie, bails it out to Pinball again. This time there are 7 Stampeders waiting for him. And Kellogg is the first to make contact again.
And that's what this Calgary defense has got to do. Take away Doug's primary routes. Make him turn to his outlet pass, which at that time was Pinball Clemens.
Jackie Kellogg, who was placed on the practice roster on October 8th, played the World League last year and played 5 games with Tampa in arena football. And isn't he a timely arrival for the Stampeders here, playing in the nickel back defense?
Well, one of the nice things about getting a guy like him back is if due to injury, or like you say, when you got 6 receivers, he can go in there and do the job and do it effectively.
That's what they need today. They need speed in the secondary, but so far the Stamps have not been able to corral the Argos, who lead 23-1. Marvin Coleman back to take a squib punt from Vanderjack. He's got it across the 30. Gets a block, and the Argos, with good coverage on that punt, limit the gain to 10 yards on a 42-yard boost by Mike Vanderjack. Here comes Dave Dickenson. Back at the Skydome in Toronto, and it's standing room only here in the booth. The biggest hands in the league right over here, and the best hands back in 1989, the Grey Cup game. One of the most exciting, and Austin goes back to pass and finds Jeff Fairholm deep. There's interference on the play, but he still comes down with the ball and goes 75 yards for a touchdown.
Look at the speed on that boy. I tell you, he should be out there playing right now. Never mind.
Let's see those hands. Look at that. He's got a few nicks, but they're still pretty good.
A good-looking lad.
You know, that 89 Grey Cup game has received the most votes so far in the balloting for the 5 classics we'll play. We will replay during Grey Cup weekend. No wonder a great 43-40 win by the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Dave Dickenson looking tentative there, looking for Alan Pitts. Good coverage by Johnny Harris, who nearly got his hands on.
Well, one of the things is when you roll to one side of the field, you limit your field of vision or your area you can throw to. He's only got one place he can put this ball. Pitts is trying to work. He does a nice job originally of getting away from Harris, goes down trying to catch the ball. But Harris, the good athlete that he is, Watch Demetrius Maxey come right through Fred Childress, which you don't see very often. Nice job of picking up by Calvin Anderson on Maxey, allowing Dickenson to get to the outside originally.
Maxey steamrollered 3 Calgary blockers en route to the quarterback. And so it's second and long. Dickenson, flag on the play. He's got time, makes up his mind, and throws it off to the flats. And Travis Moore brings it down, but he's going to be just shy of the first down. Adrian Smith and Ken Benson limit the game.
Well, we also have an illegal procedure on Calgary again. And this is just not working with the quarterback, not used to his time or the voice.
Illegal procedure, Calgary number 18. Penalties declined, third down.
I remember as a lineman, one of the toughest things to do is you get in there and you got a new quarterback in there. He's got a different cadence style. Some guys are fast, rapid fire. Other guys like to really enunciate each hunt. And as a result, you have a hard time anticipating when to leave, and especially for a slot back who is trying to leave the line of scrimmage as the ball is actually hunted. Can cause some problems for you.
Body language looking down on the Calgary bench at this point. They trail 21-3 to the Argos as Martino gets away a wobbly punt to Adrian Smith. And it goes out of bounds at about the 37-yard line of the Argos. Decent field position for Doug Flutie and company. A 29-yard squib
by
that's Martino.
Very un-Martino-like, who leads the league, has surpassed Vanderjack, taking the #1 spot in the punting division at 45.3 average. But that will definitely not help that average, and he might go down shortly.
Martino with the longest punt so far of 79. Vanderjack, his counterpart, who has a longest punt of 80. So 2 big legs, Pluto, in this one. Flutie loves the shotgun, gives him good field position and vision. It's tipped, still caught by 87.
Well, if you're going to rush 3 guys and you're going to play in that deep zone, you're going to have to tighten that zone up because they're finding seams in it right now. Guys are just wide open.
Daryl Mitchell, the rookie, with a 26-yard gain, and look at the protection.
Well, you can see Doug's got all time to throw. Jeff Traversy coming into your screen, but Mitchell finds the seam, just sits down right in there. Kalen and McClanahan, who's dropping in his linebacking position to make the play, but they're going to have to tighten up either that or go to a little man coverage. Mix it up.
Flutie nearly perfect so far, good on 10 of 12 for 147 and 2 touchdowns. This time he hands off to the pinball. He reverses field and is stacked up. The bear hug on the play, Jermaine Miles, and then a hog tie rodeo move. And pinball, you don't usually see him upset like that.
Well, this is what Calgary, you hate to see this kind of thing. A flag came down before this, but look at the emotion. I mean, that's what you want. If you're Calgary and you're down, you want to do something to pick your team up. This is sometimes a good penalty, even though it's not even called on him. It's called on Toronto for holding.
Jermaine Miles.
Holding, Toronto number 65. First down repeated.
Big Willie Williams with the Bear Club on him, but this is what you want to do. You want, as a defense, to get fired up, get in their face, start talking trash, get your teammates fired up. Sometimes it's a little lethargic. You can see right here, Jermaine Miles has got him. Now, pinball, look at the strength of his legs, and actually, the whistle had gone or that would have been a fumble. That's one of the risks you take when you stay up and don't go down, but pinball will never go down.
He ropes and ties pinball on that play. The Argos with the penalty are in a first down and 20 situation. Pressure, and once again Traversy gets one of his mitts up in front of the Flutie pass. That's twice now Jeff Traversy has gotten up and in the way of Doug's trajectory.
Good. Watch this pass rush. Here we go. We got Jermaine Miles. They really like this kid. But Willie Williams does a great job of, one, getting his hands on the numbers. There's nowhere you can, especially if you got those long arms that Willie Williams has. He's a big man at 300. They say 300. I guarantee he's pressing 330, but he's got the long digits right there, and he's keeping Jermaine off the passer.
If that's the case, Miles is giving up 60 pounds in this confrontation, which is turning into a doozy. That's twice now Jeff Traversy has gotten up and in the way of Doug's trajectory.
Good. Watch this pass rush. Here we go. We got Jermaine Miles. They really like this kid. But Willie Williams does a great job of, one, getting his hands on the numbers. There's nowhere you can, especially if you got those long arms that Willie Williams has. He's a big man at 300. They say 300. I guarantee he's pressing 330, but He's got the long digits right there, and he's keeping Jermaine off the passer.
If that's the case, Miles is giving up 60 pounds in this confrontation, which is turning into a doozy. Whistles on the play, flags, and somebody jumped the gun at the line. Here's Dave Yule. Still trying to sort it out.
Offside, Calgary number 91.
Marvin Pope gets called for.
Well, Marvin saw something here, but there might have been a little movement by the receiver on Toronto. He's up here, right here. You can see right here. There he is. He just sees Demetrician and the other guys leaving. They leave early. He goes. I don't know about that call right there.
Demetrician was 2 or 3 strides across the line of scrimmage. 2nd and 15. Flutie across the middle, and he finds the pinball and more. What a day for Mike Clements. Hauled down by Marvin Coleman with some assists in the secondary.
Let's just talk about one thing. Let's just say what a half, first half. 7 for 109 yards already, Pinball Clemens. I don't know what the record. We said he had 15 last couple weeks ago. He had 15 catches. He's well on the way to that right now. You can see right now Doug Flutie just sets back right across the middle. He's got coverage. Alondra Johnson's trying to run with him, but
that's what
just
you
does
call
a great job. And then again, the gang tackling, so reminiscent of anybody trying to tackle Pinball.
That's what you call threading the needle. Here's Flutie again. In the corner, Kenton Leonard dumps Demetrician, but there's no flag.
Well, I'm actually glad there's no flag. He tripped. It's an accidental thing. Far too many times we see a receiver go downfield to catch ankles, and they see the referee call a flag. You see him right now. Watch this at the lower end of your screen right here. That's Kenton Leonard knocking the ball out of bounds.
But Demetrician's prone.
He's prone on the ground, but he caught his ankle, and that's a good call, good decision by the referee, the line judge.
Kenton Leonard, the veteran, clawing his way back into the game. What a record for the Argos. On pace to break their record of 15-3 set last year. Flutie into the end zone for Daryl Mitchell, and it's high.
That was a nice job by Al Jordan coming up top, knocking the ball away from Daryl Mitchell. Daryl actually thought he was open. You see him coming right down. He's going to break in the middle. He's looking for the goalpost right now. He's looking for the goalpost. Al Jordan does a great job of getting back and getting that left paw in the middle.
How about Eddie Davis on that play too?
Excuse me.
Oh, he says. That's close.
Pretty good in the broad jump, I think, right there. He got some length in that. I hear he's an excellent basketball player. You can see that he's got some vertical ability.
Got some Air Jordan there and a little bit of a curtsy or something at the end of it. Here's Vanderjack attempting a 29-yard field goal, and he splits the uprights. The Argos open a 24-3 lead with 6:29 to go in the first half. Who would have thought that Don Matthews would blow out Wally Buono the way he is so far? There he is, the Darth Vader of pro football in this country.
Watch this, Jack Jackson coming across. He's watching. Keep your head on swivel, son. Anthony McClanahan is going to knock you out, and that sometimes will never get called by the referee because it's away from the play.
Ouch, he said. Didn't see it coming. Kickoff taken by Coleman, crosses the 15, has a posse in front, gets a seam, and finally makes it to the 40-yard line. A 27-yard return of a 62-yard kickoff, and Coleman once again is giving the Calgary offense decent field position. Dickenson in this game, 3 of 7 so far for 16 yards.
Well,
Jeff Garcia upstairs watching today because of the infected left elbow that became infected after a turf burn. On these fields, sometimes they can be septic. They're dirty.
Well, you don't really see them. You see them wet them down. You don't see them wash them. And even when they do wash them, they wash with detergent that can, as you say, get infected into your body.
Argos owning time of possession. Dickinson stretches the defense. Pitts is open and drops the ball. When do you see that?
You'll never see that. I shouldn't have said that.
Ron Waldrop with pressure on Dickinson. He hung in, delivered a nice pass.
Well, you can see he's just down. He's got Antonius Bonner. Just takes him to the outside, fakes like he's going to run an outside route, comes back inside. Bonner's in the chase position. That's an easy grab, and you can talk to him anytime, and he'll make sure he knows he should have had that one.
Waldrop and Stewart making Dickenson pay the price as he hung in the pocket and threw a beauty.
Well, I'll tell you what, that was a nice throw, and he paid the price.
Alan Pitts has caught one of the last 5 balls thrown in his direction. Second and long, Stampeders. Dickenson in the shotgun. Here comes Harris. What a sack! The ball's loose, and the Argos have it. That was vicious.
Well, vicious is not the word. That might be manslaughter.
There's a flag on the play.
They could be offside right here. I think that Johnny Harris lined up late on the outside.
Toronto number 7.
Well, no wonder.
Well, I tell you what, he's offside. Now, on this play, he is offside. Do you give a guy a rough play on this, too? I mean, if he's offside, you can see right here, Dickenson doesn't even see him. It's from the... He's coming right here. Watch this. Oh, my God. Mama mailed me a new collarbone.
Fans, you could hear the O go up here as the replay was shown on the Jumbotron. Here it is again. Whack.
Well, they just brought too many guys there, and nobody could pick up Johnny Harris. Bam.
I agree with you. That's almost like an intentional no-yard situation. Maybe they should double the yardage on it. It's 2nd and 5. Dickenson is okay. Throws deep on the pump. He's got Terry Vaughn. It's picked off. Don Smith goes up forward in front of Terry Vaughn. The ball is underthrown. Once again, O'Shea and Stewart were in Dickinson's face.
Well, the height of the defensive backs. We talked about this. They're all 6 feet plus. Watch Pitso. He wants to go to Pitts. Johnny Harris is on him like an old glove. Throws it over. Terry Vaughn, first time they got to him, but the thing about having a height on your defensive backfield is you have to drop the ball into the bucket. It's kind of like being at the county fair. You're trying to put the ball in the bucket, baby. You can't put it anywhere else or they'll grab it.
Terry Vaughn, 5 foot 8 inches against the 6 foot defender, Don Smith. There's another shot.
Well, he's taking a beating and he stayed in there.
Dave Dickenson has been taking a beating. The give now to the pinball as the Argos take over on another turnover.
Well,
McClanahan, there you see the code on the side of his head, D2F. That's Doug Flutie, number 2.
I don't know if I'd want Anthony McClanahan walking around. He'd probably put your phone number on there, Mark Lee. You can see him, he keeps fighting. He's working his way through, and he comes through and makes a play on that. He is fired up. He will always give you 100%. He's very colorful, and he loves the attention.
Dennis Rodman, also of the CFL. McClanahan with a steady gaze on defense. Flutie steps into the pocket across the middle, and McClanahan again puts a lick on Jack Jackson.
Well, they're playing smart. This is what you got to do. If you're going to rush 3, tighten your zone package. Don't spread it out so they can find whole seams to sit and catch the ball. Watch McClanahan here. He's got his eye on the quarterback, and he's watching whatever's coming across the middle. He sees it right now. Bam! He's up there with DeLondre Johnson making the play, limiting the gain. Punting situation for Toronto.
Good defense. McClanahan, look at him. He's still winded. He has been playing his heart out in this game.
Well, you got to get that from your veterans, and that's what they got to do. Everybody else has got to pick it up. Dickinson's trying to stay in there, hang in there, throw the ball.
Vanderjack. Coleman back to receive this punt. He's been averaging 46.5 and gets a skyrocket. Pushes Coleman inside his 30. Breaks the first tackle, gets a seam up the middle, has some speed, and crosses the 50-yard line. Once again, yeoman work by Marvin Coleman. A 23-yard return of a 55-yard punt. Bonner and Harris make the tackle.
And watch Mike O'Shea. Mike O'Shea is coming down here. You can see John Raposo. They're all trying to square up, stop, settle down. But Coleman, this is something you just can't teach. We've had guys in Winnipeg, I remember over the years, trying to find a quality punt returner, kickoff returner. This is God-given talent right here.
Coming up on the halftime, we'll visit with Frank Clare, the coaching legend who holds the record, 147 wins all time, currently tied with Don Matthews with a win here today. Don Matthews takes over as the most successful coach. Dickenson in trouble. We'll visit with Frank Clare, the coaching legend who holds the record, 147 wins all time, currently tied with Don Matthews with a win here today. Don Matthews takes over as the most successful coach. Dickenson in trouble, breaks out of the pocket, he'll run with it, goes down at center field, a gain of maybe 3 yards in the play, and Mike O'Shea, a frightening thought is waiting for him.
Well, he just, Rob Waldrop just runs straight over Jay McNeil. I mean, you gotta stop this guy. You cannot let this guy go like this right now, or Dickenson will not have enough time to throw the ball, and you'll be stopped early.
To the Sky Dome in Toronto, Kelvin Anderson 1 week ago went over 1,000 yards rushing for the second season in a row, but in this game so far, he's rushed the ball twice on handoffs from backup quarterback Dave Dickenson for only 4 yards. 1 catch for -3.
Well, you cannot win football games throwing the ball every down. You allow Toronto to do certain things on defense.
Vince Danielson, who himself went over 1,000 yards for the first time in his career this season, last week at home, gets his catch and gets a first down for Calgary. Big target at 6'4".
Oh, big time. You got to use this guy. And the big thing is, getting back to Anderson, last week, 21 carries for 71 yards. The fact is, you get the offensive lineman to start coming off the ball rather than sitting back in a pass mode.
Danielson, who had 93 yards last week, filling the shoes of Dave Sapunjas, who retired. Dickenson in trouble, and he's called down by Rob Waldrop.
Well, somebody better get a hold of Moses, because the Red Sea is parting right here. And this is unbelievable. You got to get a little bit better protection right now. They're bringing different looks. I understand that. You got a new guy in there. I understand that. You can watch right here. They're running twist. Mike O'Shea just comes on a Mac blitz. They got Reggie Gibbons coming from the outside. Rob Waldrop wraps him up. You can see Marcelo Simmons. It is a sea of blue in there, and they're giving the big boys in red a rough time right now.
Dave Dickenson forced into the starting role with the sudden departure and scratch in the pregame of Jeff Garcia, who has a viral infection. And he's having to be a quick study here. That time he goes to Travis Moore on the hot route, and it's good. And very close to the line of scrimmage.
The original line of scrimmage, that is. And the big thing about that is, that's Travis Moore recognizes they're bringing too many guys. Reggie Gibbons is up there. They got Marcelo Simmons up there. You're going to have to do some adjustment. He comes in.
Johnny Harris has been having an aggressive day on defense for Toronto. You saw Moore leaving with his arm dangling. It looks like it's hurt.
Well, this defense takes turns of making stars out of defensive backs. If it's not Marcelo Simmons, it's Lester Smith, or it's Johnny Harris, it's Adrian Smith, or one of the other Smith brothers. They all are involved in the package. They understand each other's assignment, and not only do they understand how it works, the biggest thing is they understand why it works.
Mark McLaughlin will attempt a 52-yard field goal. That would be the longest of the year for him. Dickenson the hold, lots of leg, good distance, and it's good. Mark McLaughlin 2 for 2 on the afternoon, and the only scoring machine so far today for the Stampeders. They trail Toronto 24-6 with 1:26 to go in the first half.
Well, they're taking, one of the things that's happening in this game so far, there's Vince Danielson. They are taking Vince Danielson out of the game. They're not allowing him to be the primary receiver. Watch his blocking. Here he's got to get a shot on Gibbons. He's shot on Bonner. He's trying to block. They're keeping him in there right now. They know if they bring too many defenders, he's got to stay in there. Watch this job. Lester Smith, and a great job of throwing his body on Marcelo Simmons. Again, the third time he comes back. Now he's picking up Lester Smith, the strong safety. Finally he gets out, gets a pass, but what they're doing, what Toronto's doing, is negating or not allowing Danielson to become a factor in the pass catching categories, making him turn into an extra offensive lineman.
Must feel like he's playing in traffic out there.
Well, he's been working on his guns. You can see his guns right here. He's got some good biceps going here, baby. And I tell you what, next year they're going to be bigger if he has to block like this all game.
Vince Danielson forced into a blocking role, at times not knowing which way to look.
Well, he knows which way to look. The protection is called inside out, which means he takes the inside guy first, tries to knock him off, direction him, and come back outside. I think he's done an excellent job of being able to block two people when your normal assignment is one. You got to give full kudos to Vince Danielson.
So far, Mike Clements gets full marks for his assignment today. 2 touchdowns already in the first half, and he's the lone man back deep to return this kick from Mark McLaughlin. At his own 13, the pinball winds it up, runs right into traffic, bounces off some tackles. And again, some aggressive coverage on the play. Aldi Henry breaks the tackle, a 25-yard return. There are flags on the play as tempers flare.
Big Raymond Biggs involved in the altercation. There's a lot of ugliness out there right now, a lot of bad feelings going on. Calgary did not expect, one, probably not to be without Jeff Garcia, but two, to be down by a 24-6 count at this time in the game. And you can see that on special teams, they're taking exception to the way they're being blocked. And a lot of tempers are flaring out there.
Well, back on August 7th, it was a close football game at the half. 23-21. Calgary.
Major foul, unnecessary roughness. Toronto number 36. Objectionable conduct. Calgary number 44. First down.
Lester Smith and Raymond Biggs, and here's what happened.
As you can see, Biggs is just fighting off Lester Smith right now. Lester Smith is all over him. He got a little glove in there right now. Keeps working, keep working.
Ooh.
A little face jack, oh boy, I tell you what. Tough man contest going out there. Who can dent the face mask? Don't be scared though, you can't hurt yourself with those masks. It looks worse than it really is.
Mike Clemens now 194 yards all-purpose in the first half. Flutie looking for Paul Masadi. He one-hops it.
And a nice job by Calgary doing something a little different. They're bringing number 17 on a blitz right from the outside. That's what you got to do to try and switch it up a little bit. You can't give him the same look every time or Flutie will just kill you.
And that's what he's doing. Look at those numbers.
Well, 3 touchdowns first half, 177 yards. Only 42 yards for Dickenson right now, but I still think Dickenson has to involve the running game a little bit more to try and take some of the pressure off him when he's throwing the ball.
Marvin Coleman is step for step with the pinball today, playing on the corner and running back kicks. Flutie steps up and looks deep down the sideline. It's complete to Daryl Mitchell with coverage that couldn't be any closer from Eddie Davis.
Wow, I'll tell you what. He needed 77 yards today to beat Rocket Ishmael's record of 1,300 yards receiver for a rookie. He's on that way. Watch this. Just kind of dually dogs along a little bit around there. Davis gives him a little stop, stutter step. Tremendous concentration. That's the thing that impresses me most about this guy. This is not a rookie out there making catches. This is a veteran.
And that's a standard to match the Rocket. Mitchell now 9 yards short of the mark with 68. Flutie scrambling, looking for the first down marker. McClanahan tracking him down, and he gets out of bounds.
Well, I think Doug Flutie, had it been anybody else, would have tried to turn it up. He sees McClanahan coming off him. He knows he's got his face painted for war. He says, I'm taking this wagon, I'm turning it out.
And so Flutie with a 6-yard gain. McClanahan ran about 60 yards trying to chase him out of bounds.
Well, these are two gifted athletes, both of them, on both sides of the ball right now. Both McClanahan with his speed and Flutie with his speed and smarts.
You mentioned he's got the face painted for war, the new dye job with Flutie's initials and numbers in his hair. And he's psyched up. Pinball stopped immediately by Darryl Hall. That was the first real close coverage we've seen all day on the pinball.
And I like the fact that Darryl Hall is sitting tight on the pinball. He knows pinball's the outlet. He just sits there, limits the gain to nothing.
Daryl Mitchell, a lock for the Rookie of the Year, wouldn't you say? He needs just 10 yards to pass Rocket Ismail's rookie receiving record. That was 1,300 yards set back in 1991.
And he did win rookie.
Jumbotron here at the Sky Dome, Mike Pinball record being saluted with a new Argo record for 117 receptions in a single season.
You know what I like about this is you're going to look at the Toronto Argonaut fact book. The first half of the Argo fact book is going to be about all the players. The second half of the phone book is going to be about all the records that Pinball Clemens and Doug Flutie have had in their years of success with the Toronto Argonauts. They have just done amazing things, both of them.
Mike Clemens with another record to add to a growing list. This was the scene as he broke his own all-purpose yards record, 3,300, 2 weeks ago. The last week against Montreal, he's fine form despite the hard knocks he took.
Well, the hits he's taken, I mean, not only is he playing running back as we talked about, taking the normal hits and pounding there, but he gets the ball out of the backfield. Today, he's probably thanking him, but he's not returning punts so far. He's just returning the kicks. He probably would like to do it all, though. The man never stops smiling. He's probably one of the most positive guys you could ever have in the locker room.
Now, he has always been mentioned as the third man in the balloting on this team for a most outstanding player, but how can you overlook him with those numbers?
Well, that's a great question, and I think as Doug Flutie throws that ball out of bounds, you got to look at three guys. Pinball Clemens on any other team is a runaway MVP for that team. He is unfortunately saddled with, and I hate to use that word, but Doug Flutie, Robert Drummond, Daryl Mitchell. I mean, they got so many great players in this squad.
But let's make the point. He takes a little flat pass and then makes something out of it. He does more after the catch than any receiver I've ever seen in this league.
Oh, he does a tremendous amount. I mean, his foot movement and his ability to make moves in open field. We are just very truly lucky to be watching this guy in this league.
Flutie, second and long, pressure, gets away from Jermaine Miles, scrambles left, points out a receiver, and he's got Paul Masani for a touchdown. Paul Masani playing with sore ribs just inside the flag at the end zone with Marvin Coleman all over him. Watch.
Well, this is unbelievable. Doug Flutie, first off, avoids a sack. Jermaine Miles has him wrapped up. Should be a sack. Gets outside it. Mazzotti's looking around. He's following. He just takes it down the field. Turns, puts his body to the ball. Shields the defensive back. Makes an easy grab. Bam, touchdown.
And he is hurting. You can tell he's favoring those tender ribs. That ball was in the air before he even turned around. That's how well they know each other.
Well, that's right. They've done a lot of stuff working after practice, a lot of route running. And you mentioned the ribs. Yeah, he fell on the ball, but I guarantee getting a touchdown, he's a little bit happier about that. If this game gets out of hand, don't be surprised to see Paul Mazzotti sitting and Norm Casola coming in and playing his spot.
Well, this game is quickly getting out of hand with 23 seconds to go. It's 31-6 Argos. Here's a look from the end zone.
Well, we mentioned this. Look at Doug. Doug is running. This is a sack. He should be wrapped up. Jermaine Miles knows it. He allows Flutie a second chance, and if you give this guy two chances at one play, this is what happens.
Flutie having one of his best first halves all time, now with 245 yards passing and 4 TDs, the fourth to his buddy, Paul Massotti.
And you can see that he's happy. He says, hit me on the helmet, hit me on the shoulder pads, but please don't hit me in the ribs.
A 7-play, 77-yard drive that took just over a minute to complete.
And I'd rather you didn't mention tender ribs, because every time you mention tender ribs, I think of a barbecue, and I'm getting kind of hungry up here, so perhaps you could refrain from the food sayings.
What a competitor, Paul Massotti, sticking in this game despite the fact he has very sore ribs.
And we mentioned the fact that Calgary hasn't been able to run Anderson. They're taking Anderson right out of the game now. So with the blocking, Danielson's out. The fact that the score is so one-sided, now Anderson can't be used as a running back. They got to throw the ball. This is exactly what Toronto wants.
Terry Vaughn with a 25-yard return of a 60-yard boot from Vanderjack, and Mike O'Shea, one of the top special team men in the league.
He's got 26 tackles. He's second in the league coming down. Watch him come down here. Through the block. Determination. He's running on one leg there. Still fights block. Fights through his second. Farrell Declare. His third. Farrell Declare again and makes the play. This is the guy that starts at middle linebacker for you, and he's doing all these things for you on special teams. I want to be his agent. That's what I want.
The kind of guy who'll go into the corners for you. Mike O'Shea, as you mentioned, number 2 in special team tackles, 2 behind Wade Miller coming into this game. Oh, and nearly picked off Dave Dickenson. And Ken Benson, perhaps the most underrated linebacker in the league, gets his mitts on that.
Well, I think this whole team is underrated. I mean, they have a lot of stars in this team, but they got so many really, really excellent players, much like the pinball scenario where if they were on other teams, would be stars. You can see right here, Dave Dickinson tries to get something on the ball. Doesn't look like he gets a whole lot on it, but Benson comes down with the paw, puts it up, and almost comes up with the interception.
Looking for Terry Vaughn, trying to get him into this game. Second down and 10, Calgary. Dickinson wide side. He had Danielson open, but underthrew it.
Well, I think they're going to have to make some adjustments on the sideline or at halftime. They got 7 seconds left, but Pitts is wide open down the center of the field. Dickenson doesn't see him. Now, one of the things you got to do, we've talked about this, is you got to stretch Toronto's defense. Toronto likes it when you want to just run the little out passes, the little 10-yard dekes, because what happens is they can suck their linebackers up, play tighter to the line, therefore eliminating any chance of running the ball. If you stretch them, you got an opportunity to do two things. If you don't stretch them, you're really hurting yourself offensively.
The insurance agent, Tony Martino, back to punt for Calgary. 45-yard average. It's blocked. Danielson has it. There's a flag on the play, and Danielson's across center field, gets a great block from Kenton Leonard, who hobbles off the field. Don Smith got his hands on the punt.
Well, this will be a very interesting call right here. First off, the punt was blocked. Danielson came up with the blocked punt as it came down. Now, are they going to call no yards?
How can they call no yards?
Well,
after
this is
it goes off an Argo?
I know, this is unbelievable. First off, they block. It should be a live ball. But they're saying because of that.
Here's Dave Ewell with the decision.
No yards. Calgary number 88. First down.
Well, I got to wonder about that call because, you know, as they say, if the ball is blocked, the ball should be live.
That's what I thought.
Unless the ball doesn't go past the original line of scrimmage. That might be the key point here. If it doesn't go beyond the original line of scrimmage, then you have to give no yards and allow the defenders a time to catch it. But
now there's no time left on the clock because of the penalty. The half can't end on a penalty, and so the Argos will get one more play, and that means a Mike Vanderjack field goal attempt from the 33-yard line. Talk about rubbing salt into the wounds. Vanderjack is simply perfect, and the Argos run the score at the half to 34-6. What a half, what a performance by the Toronto Argonauts, who lead big at halftime from the Skydome in Toronto. The Stamps will try to regroup. The Argos shooting the lights out here in the first half. Doug Flutie with 4 touchdown passes. Toronto in front of Calgary, 34-6 at the half. Well, Don Matthews is just one half away from realizing a lifetime achievement of becoming the most successful coach ever in the CFL. The last 2 years, he's won 2 straight Grey Cups on 2 different teams, Baltimore and Toronto. In fact, since 1994, he's won 80% of his games. And now he can put his mark on this league by passing Frank Clare, breaking his record of 147 wins. Frank Clare, they called him the Professor, the Argo and later Rough Rider coach who sometimes forgot his own players' names but knew the game inside out. 7 Grey Cup titles as a coach and GM. The glory years in Ottawa, back-to-back Grey Cups, the climax of his association with the great quarterback, Russ Jackson.
He put in formations and offensive ideas that are really today's ideas, but nobody looks back and says, well, we did them in Ottawa.
These days, Frank Clare and his wife Pat live in Sarasota, Florida. Nearly 30 years since the glory years, and we had a chance to talk with Frank here in the booth earlier today. Frank, this is a big occasion in the CFL. I'm wondering what's going through your mind as your record is on the verge of being broken?
Well, actually, I've thought about it now, but only recently, about 4 or 5 months ago. I never thought about it hardly at all. Nobody mentioned it, but it's a big thing in a way because he's done a great job of coaching, and he's won more games.
Did you think anybody would ever get this close?
Well, it's hard to tell. Some coaches run out of steam and they go down to the States and different places. It's hard to know what's going to happen.
Now listen, it's been nearly 30 years since you coached in this league. How has the game changed?
Well, it's a passing game today, and it's mainly passing and draw plays. That's set off the play. And it's very... the running game where I had Russ Jackson, our great bunch up in Ottawa, it was a different style game.
Now, they called you the Professor in Ottawa and in Toronto. Taken a lot of shots over the years about forgetting players' names, but I love the story about the time you went for a loaf of bread and ended up somewhere else.
Well, I don't know if that was true, but I think the big thing it could have been because my wife didn't want me to go to Toronto, and I told her I was going around somewhere. But anyway, I ended up in Toronto, but I don't know if that loaf of bread was true or not.
She ended up seeing you on TV. What, scouting the game?
Scouting the game, that's right.
What about the game itself? I often wonder, the stadium that bears your name in Ottawa being silent this year, and what you think of that.
I think that's one of the most important things happened to me in my life, because people who have that much admiration for myself, to name the stadium is quite something.
It'd be nice to get a team back there, too.
It certainly would. I would hope they'd do it next year.
Well, Frank, it's great meeting you. I grew up in Ottawa, and as a kid, I wore the R on my football helmet, and congratulations on everything you've achieved in this league.
Thank you.
Frank Clare watching Pinball Clemens and his 2 touchdowns today, likely thinking of another small running back who did the same thing in the 60s, and I'm speaking of Ronnie Stewart. At the half, the Argos lead big over the Stampeders. Don Matthews has said it is team policy not to lose twice to the same team in the same season, and so far so good for the Argonauts here this afternoon. Well, the response to our plans to show the 5 greatest Grey Cups of all time during Grey Cup week has been overwhelming. So far we have received more than 4,000 votes from you, the fans, and here's what all the fuss is about. We're asking you to choose the top 5 from this list of 10, and so far the most popular Grey Cup in the voting is the 1989 Cup. Saskatchewan beating Hamilton 43-40, and here's where you can send your votes. Send it to CBC Sports, or you can find us on the internet, and there's our address at the bottom of your screen. Now, Bluto, I know you're disappointed about this, but your Grey Cup in '88 has received a measly 5 votes. You and the rest of your offensive line.
Well, no, it's my family. They feel sorry for their supporting me. I can't believe that 1988. I'm trying to give you the puppy dog look here. 5 votes. I mean, I think we should get more votes than that, but I do agree 1989 is a great vote. But let's get everybody from across the country voting. I mean, we get a lot of votes from Saskatchewan right now. We should get everybody across the country involved in it.
Yeah, a quarter of the votes so far have come from Saskatchewan. Let's talk about the first half on the outpouring of offense by the Argonauts.
Wow, we were wondering if they were going to be flat. They certainly came out quite the opposite. They just demoralized and totally destroying Calgary. Right now you got Doug Flutie, goes back the game. They're leading 14-3 at this time. A breakdown. This is one thing he said Calgary couldn't afford to do. A missed tackle by Ken Leonard. Pinball romps into the end zone, 65-yard touchdowner. I mean, this made the score 21-3. Danielson, who's a 1,000-yard receiver, is relegated to blocking. Here he hits Reggie Givens. He's got to get Antonius Bonner. This is what he's doing. They're taking him out of the offense. You got to have Danielson in this offense if you're going to throw the ball.
We talked about Dave Dickenson. You see him having his troubles.
And then, of course, the big play at the end of you can never take a play off. Donald Smith does a blocks the Tony Martino punt, recovers the punt by Danielson, but he was on the other side of the line of scrimmage, therefore he has to give yards, gives Toronto a chance. They have to kick a field goal. Rubbing salt in the wound, as you said.
We wondered how the Stampeders might react to not having Jeff Garcia as their starting quarterback. So far, the results have been devastating. We're back with the second half after this. The Argos lead big here as we start the third quarter. It's 34-6 as the Island Yacht Club ferry makes another trip to the mainland. And the first half stats.
Well, look at the first downs by Calgary. 2-13. Actually, Toronto's down. Most of the games we've done, they've had 20 at halftime, so Calgary must be doing a little bit right. But only 2 first downs and only 7 yards rushing.
Doug Flutie has had a red letter day in the first half, getting stretched here on the Argo bench. Sometimes you cool off at halftime and need to get the muscles warmed up.
Well, that's obviously a lower back stretch right there, and they're probably just trying to keep it in case it's tightening up on them, and they can ill afford to have anything happen. This is just something they do when a guy comes from sitting in his locker, his stall. You've been sitting for 15-20 minutes. They just want to kind of limber you up again, get you ready to go.
Dave Dickenson getting a chance to regroup, probably had a word with Jeff Garcia after a tough first half.
Well, I'm sure he talked to Garcia, and I'm also sure Danny Barrett was in his ear a whole lot too. And you know, he's tried to get some things done, but again, we talked about it. We wondered if the short week would hurt him. It definitely has. He hasn't got the right timing right now with the receivers or the familiarity with the pattern, so something's going to happen.
Mike Clemens back to return the second half kick from Mark McLaughlin, and we're underway. 34-6, the Argos lead. Some confusion as Lester Smith backpedals, gets the kick, and is dropped inside the 30-yard line. A 58-yard kickoff and a 7-yard return. Al Jordan helping out.
And Pinball said, hey, you wanted Lester Smith, you think it's so easy, catch the ball, take it yourself.
Let's go down to the sidelines now. Caroline Corey is standing by with an update on Paul Massotti.
Thanks, Mark. And yes, we have been watching Mr. Mazzotti with particular interest. Looks like his ribs have been giving him a bit of difficulty out there on the field today, but he walked out onto the field for the second half with some bounce in his step, and he says he's just fine, and he looks like he's smiling too, so I think he's being honest.
Well, it's hard to get a competitor like him out of a football game. One catch and a touchdown, not bad. Direct snap to Clemens, makes the good read, goes around the end, and has first down territory, and Moore drives across center field.
Well, I'm sure that Anthony McClanahan and Marvin Pope especially is talking about a holding. Chris Gioscas put the big clamps on him. Didn't allow him, you can see right, you got to be able to, he's got him right here, watch this. He can't even get off. That's a penalty, my friends, but the referee didn't call him, and I got to stick up for the tackles. It's never a penalty unless the referee calls it.
John Kalin finally wrestles Pinball out of bounds, and McClanahan getting set to combat this Argo offense that has been terrific. 4 touchdowns in the first half. Direct snap to Pinball again, reads it well, and has got 6, maybe 7 yards. Marvin Pope finally tackles him.
You know, the thing about it, Pinball, it makes people slow down before they tackle him because he makes so many moves that every time you do tackle him, he still picks up 5 or 6 or 7 yards.
The direct snap to Pinball, his first concern is the run. The second is to pitch it back to Doug Flutie.
Oh, they have so many plays off the same formation, and as an offense, that's what you want to do. We used to call that key breakers. So if you see a certain formation, you don't know what is actually coming at you, and that's what Toronto does so successfully right now.
Clemens gets a breather and gets set to go to work again. He has been a one-man show on this Argo offense this afternoon. Flutie spreads receivers to the wide side left and rolls in that direction. Miles in pursuit. Flutie across, good coverage on the play as he goes to Daryl Mitchell.
Well, nice job of Daryl Hall falling off his coverage responsibilities of Pinball, recognizing the ball was higher, falling off. You see Mitchell turning Jordan around, coming in here. You see Daryl Hall on the bottom. He's going to leave his original responsibility and gets the forearm, and he's responsible for knocking that ball out.
Looked like he was reading Jordan's eyes when he put his hand up there. His back was to the pass. And good pressure by Jermaine Miles to flush Flutie.
Well, you got to start doing it, but Flutie, you know, Flutie will never sit in that pocket. Very few times do you see him in a straight drop back.
Mike Vanderjack getting set to punt, and look at the average that Martino has been nursing in this game, 32 and change.
Well, 20 yards difference from his average over the season.
That block hurt it in the first half. Coleman at his 10. Reverses field. Tries to pick up speed, and guess who's waiting? It's Mike O'Shea. Mike O'Shea and Antonius Bonner corral Coleman, and there's more pushing and shoving as the bad blood flares here in the third quarter. Mike O'Shea with the Jack Lambert looks at linebacker.
He's a tough guy. The only thing, if you want to be true Jack Lambert, you got to miss a few teeth. And you can see right here at the end of the thing, he's kind of got a leg lock on Jermaine Miles, and there's blood all over the pants. That's the kind of thing you know when a linebacker's getting in there, when his hands and feet are dirty and there's blood all over. You don't want to walk in there with a clean uniform or clean pants, because then you know you haven't played.
Dave Dickenson and the Stampeders with tough field position at their own 15. The give to Kelvin Anderson, and it's rough going.
Well, it may be rough going, but they're doing something they have to. You can't come into the second half thinking, hey, we're down 34-6. It's a new half. You're going to hear coaches preach about that. Try and stay with the original game plan. Kelvin Anderson, 3 rushes for 6 yards. Very untypical of an Anderson type afternoon.
2-yard average for Anderson, who's over 1,000 for the second season in a row. Once again, the Stampeders in a 2nd and long situation. 2nd and 9. Dickenson steps up into the pocket. He's got a man open. That's Travis Moore, and a first down on the curl route in front of Don Smith. A 15-yard gain for the Stamps.
Nice job of going down, of delivering the ball from Dickenson to Travis Moore, and the only place it can be caught. Watch this, nice throw right here. He comes back to the ball, he goes down, shields Donald Smith away from the ball. All Donald can do is keep him down on the ground.
So Dickenson was something positive to build on here as the Stampeders start to move out of their own end. First down at the 31. And only 3 first downs so far in the game for them. Dickenson has time. Finds Dwayne Ford, who fumbles out of bounds. Don Smith one of the toughest filling corners in the league, puts a lick on him.
Well, that's what you want to do. Let's use this guy. When you got a guy who's built like a house like this, he's got muscle upon muscle, you want to start pounding some of his defensive backs, give it to him. Let's watch some of the pressure up front. Here's Allen Stewart. Watch Stewart on Crysdale. This is a good job. Obviously, get a little help from McNeil. You think you want to be a nose tackle, you get a lot of attention there, boy.
Andrew Stewart held up.
That's what happens when you got 7 or 8 sacks.
Second down and 1. Stampeders, the give is to Kelvin Anderson, and he gets barely one before Mike O'Shea railroads him back across the line of scrimmage.
Well, they had their short yardage defense in there. They bring in John Raposo, big 6'4", 250 yards, second-year guy. Mike O'Shea, as you say, doing it on special teams and doing it on short yardage here.
Mike O'Shea, it's amazing the stamina he must have playing in the guts of that defense and then having to play special teams the way he does.
Oh, you have to be. And now you wonder why when you come out and watch, he just fools around, throws the frisbee. That's the only time he can relax during a game.
Another first down for the Stamps. Dickenson with time, across the middle, comeback route to Terry Vaughn. He battles for the first down marker, and Mike O'Shea again on the tackle.
Mike O'Shea on the tackle, but the first time they've gone successfully to Terry Vaughn, and they have to start using this guy. Watch Terry Vaughn in the middle of your screen right here, just watching the quarterback and then flowing to the ball. That's all the middle linebacker has to do right there. Makes the play. But I like what Dickinson's doing right now. He's made some adjustments. Seems to be a little bit more poised when he's throwing the ball. Maybe he's recognized some rows, or maybe they just cut down the offensive package for him.
Dickenson clearly throwing more high percentage passes here, simplifying his offense as you suggest, and it's working. Second and less than a yard. Look at this. 4 backs in the backfield spread out. He empties it. Second and short. Dickenson will throw across the middle. Oh, it's complete and then tipped into the yard of Crydale.
Well, you love to see that. Who said offensive linemen don't have good hands?
Gee, the other day in the warm-ups, you were throwing one of those balls around. It looked like a peewee ball in your big mitts.
Well, I'll tell you what, this is a great job of being not just giving up after the play. Watch Demetrius Maxey right now. He's going after Chris Burns. Watch this. There's some head slapping, punching.
That's ugly.
Now that's not, you're not allowed to.
And there's a kick.
That kick, that should be an ejection right there. Now he's looking for the referee saying, what is going on? We're down, I know, on the scoreboard, but there's no room for that in this game.
Stampeders moving the yardsticks. First down at the Argo 48-yard line. Movement at the line of scrimmage. And flags on the play.
And there's some definite ugliness, I'm telling you. We just watched Maxey and Burns last time. They're chatting big.
Illegal procedure. Calgary 59. Still first down.
Rocco Romano, the left tackle for the Stamps, the veteran, gets flagged for procedure.
Who's had a really solid year. You don't hear Rocco's name mentioned, but that's because most of the time the guys against him aren't doing anything. He's really a solid left tackle. Does a great job of protecting the blind side of the quarterback.
And that's the life of an O-lineman. When you do your job, you don't get any limelight. Dickenson, quick toss across the middle. Terry Vaughn, and the Stampeder offense is clicking.
And this is what you want to do. Now, it's the second time they've gone to Vaughn. What they like, and there's a flag down out of bounds, is the fact of what Terry Vaughn does after he catches the ball.
12-yard gain for Vaughn on that completion from Dickenson. Danny Barrett has crafted some good offensive adjustments for the Stampeders at halftime. Dave Ewell now with the ruling. And so the flag will be waved off.
Watch Max. He's going after everybody here. He's going after Crysdale now. He said, I saw the 7. I thought it was 57, Chris Burns. Sorry, Jamie. That's 67. But yeah, he's fired up. He's looking to get into a big trench war right now. And this could have.
Look at the talk already. Look at the cheap talk already on the line of scrimmage.
Well, he wants to know what kind of toppings he put on his pizza last night.
Your mother wears RV boots. Here's Dickenson rolling. Pressure. Cuts inside. Simmons. And is dragged down with a late shot from Benson.
Well, this is inexperience right here. One of the times when if you can't beat him to the outside, if you watch Doug Flutie, he gets in the same situation like this. What he does is he gets rid of the ball. Watch this. Dickenson tries to get outside. Mike O'Shea's picked up really nice. He tries to cut back inside of Simmons. You either stay outside, throw the ball, don't come back into traffic. He tries to do that. It costs him.
Marcelo Simmons tracking down Dickenson and forcing the Stampeders into their third field goal situation of this game.
And for Marcelo Simmons, that's his 5th quarterback sack in 3 games.
Dickenson will hold at the 51. McLaughlin's already hit from 52. And he's got lots of leg here this afternoon. Mark McLaughlin, simply perfect. 3 for 3 and all 9 Calgary points here in Toronto. The CFL on CBC and the Anthony McClanahan fan club. What is this, a new name for him? Freezy guy?
He's that's taken off that Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. And
there's
hey,
the
listen, this is a guy from Carleton. He was studying pre-med.
Flutie with time. Downfield and overthrows Masadi. There's a flag on the play. Marvin Coleman was all over Masadi.
Well, they're going to call pass interference here, and you can't make these kind of mistakes. Just cover him. I understand Masadi will give you. One thing about Paul.
Forward pass interference. Calgary number 17. First down.
As you said, pass interference. But one thing about Masadi is he's a real deceptive type runner. He's not a guy with overly quick feet, but he just kind of floats sometimes and turns it on, turns it off. And a lot of times you'll become entangled with him, and that'll result in flags being thrown for pass interference.
Argos with 6 receivers. 4 to the wide side. Flutie straight back to pass. Pressured and sacked. Bronzell Miller right up the middle, putting Flutie on his back.
Well, that's the first time they've gotten a Flutie today. But good pressure, not only by Bronzell, who gets the sack, but for Jermaine Miles to the right of your screen, when, as you can see, doesn't allow him to get to the outside, keeps him in the pocket.
Right through Mike Kiselak, the Argo center. Last year's most outstanding lineman in the CFL. Nice tight shot of the trenches. Flutie in the shotgun, fakes. Lots of time. 6 steamboats, 7 steamboats, 8 steamboats, rolls right, throws to the sideline, and it's incomplete.
Well, that was an interesting formation right off the bat. They had 4 receivers to the right side of your field, and they just started running this little scatter pattern back and forth, trying to confuse the DBs, and there was somebody open. Watch Kistler again on Brunzell, pushing him outside, pushing him outside. Flutie's got lots of time originally. Now it's up to him to make something happen, and he's got good quicks. He gets to the outside. Unfortunately, nobody's there. Just overthrows Jack Jackson.
And so Mike Vanderjack will punt. The Argo faithful getting a treat today. 34-9, Toronto in front with 6:30 to go in the third quarter. Nearly blocked. Coleman takes it at the 24. Don Smith with coverage. And Coleman is racked up. Raposo and Johnny Harris in on the tackle. Dave Dickenson assembling the Calgary huddle, and he's got to be buoyed by these stats. 5 for 5 on his opening drive of the second half for 56 yards and a field goal.
Well, I think that's what you got to do, is you got to somewhat shorten that package, find out what Dave's comfortable with, and let him run that package.
Behind the center, Dickenson drops back, short drop, complete to Travis Moore, and he steps across the first down marker before being driven out of bounds by Antonius Bonner.
Well, I like what they're doing here. I like they're taking what they're giving them to him. Whatever Toronto's giving to them, Calgary's taking them. They also have what's called a chop block. The offensive lineman set, chop the feet out right from under the defensive lineman of the Toronto Argonauts. That's how you slow the big boys down, boy. Nobody likes people rolling around your feet.
Danny Barrett chomping on the gum, eager to see what they can produce here in the second half. Stamps yet to get a touchdown, 3 straight field goals. Dickenson in the shotgun, flushed and caught by Rob Waldrop for a big sack.
Well, I don't know what they're doing in the side there, if the offensive linemen are trying to pass somebody off, but Waldrop has been in that backfield sometimes before the ball gets back to Dickenson. Let's take a look at it. You can see him right here. Here he is at the bottom. Just does a nice move, an arm over, just totally beats the center. Crysdale, that's a quick sack. I know it's a tough job snapping the ball because you got one hand on the football. That's why they like to isolate those nose tackles or defensive tackles one-on-one with the center because they're limited with the usage of their hands.
That's the 5th sack of the game for the Argos. Team that leads in 24 of 25 defensive categories, including sacks with 42, make that 43 and 44. Well, 45, 46, 47, 48.
Well, that's good. You can count. I'm really proud of you. I'm going to give you an A in mathematics for you, son. But what I like about this is, Don Matthews said in a number of press conferences ago that if they block 7, we'll rush 8. We just we feed off each other as far as the scheme they give us. And that's what they did that time. They picked everybody up. Nobody picks up Antonius Bonner. He comes from the outside. He's the extra guy. He either turns to play inside or makes the play. That's what he does.
Don Matthews enjoying the performance of his defense this afternoon, forcing Calgary into a punting situation. Tony Martino back inside his own 10. Here come the Argos. Adrian Smith is dropped quickly, trying to negotiate the coverage. A 7-yard return of a 47-yard boot from Martino.
Welcome back to the CFL on CBC. The Toronto Argonauts are leading the Calgary Stampeders by a score of 34-9. Tomorrow on the CBC, stay tuned for the wonderful world of Disney and an all-new Wind at My Back, 15 years of Just for Laughs and the life and times of Robert Bateman.
Star-studded lineup in prime time as Flutie goes to work in a star-studded lineup for the Argos. Flutie breaks a tackle from Pope, then slides at the 51, and there's a flag on the play.
Probably be a little bit of a holding call right here.
So he's giving the official a few words.
Holding, Toronto 65. First down repeated.
Well,
Willie Williams gets called for holding, Bluto.
Well, they call him sometimes this way. We talked about Calgary having to start strong. They haven't started strong. They've made some mistakes, 2 turnovers, 10 penalties. We got 20 yards. Stay sharp on offense. Flutie, 4 touchdown passes in the first half, and they did pressure new guy with 6 sacks. The game note. This is what it's all about, and I don't know who picked him, but that man deserves a medal.
Yes, Chris Walby, a member of the Mensa Society.
The only Mensa I know is the Mensa room.
Flutie deep for Daryl Mitchell. Coverage from Eddie Davis, and he bats it down. You still laughing about that, are you?
It's pretty quick.
Daryl Mitchell stretching the Stampeder defense, but Eddie Davis step for step.
Well, you can see him go right down the seam right here. Is a nice, just a speed route. Ball's kind of hung up there, and whenever that happens, it also allows the defensive back to come back and make the play, and it just becomes a fight for the ball. And actually, when the ball is up there, they have the right as much as the receiver to go for it, and that's what usually happens.
The ball was underthrown as Mitchell had to slow down and come back to it, allowing Davis to take control. 2nd and 20, Argos. Flutie pumps one, steps up in the pocket, goes wide side, incomplete. And Masadi is slow to get up.
Well, his ribs are bugging him, as you can see. He's stretching out, but he tries valiantly to come back for the football. Ball is pretty much uncatchable. Doug Flutie was mentioned earlier, 4 touchdown passes. One of the things I find and I don't want to make fun or light of this, he passed Tobin Rote, who was the previous record holder for Toronto, who had 38 touchdowns, right?
Right.
And I look up his bio on this guy, and this is the bio. A Greek godlike figure with a passion for the good life. Now I'm thinking, is this a football player? Huh?
You sure that wasn't your own bio?
I'm telling you.
Greek godlike figure. Terry Vaughn sidesteps some early pursuit and then is hammered. Norm Casola in on the tackle. Let's go down to the sidelines, and here's Caroline.
Enjoying the game this afternoon is Merwin Mondesir, one of the stars of Riverdale, CBC's new primetime soap opera, which airs every Monday and Tuesday night at 7 p.m. and again on Sundays at 11 a.m. right here on CBC television. You can also catch Merwin on Straight Up, the acclaimed CBC drama series returning to the network later this season.
Are we sure we found the right guy? We are eliminating all possibilities.
Was he ever pumped up for that, too? Here's Dickenson, rolling to his right, looking deep down the sideline, and it's complete. Alan Pitts with the catch. Once again, Chris Walby. If you want to do some writing, go ahead.
Well, I tell you what, we could write, but I tell you what I like is that they got Alan Pitts open. He made the catch, and they're moving the chains. Dickenson is doing different things this half. They are looking a lot sharper. They're probably saying, you know what, when you go back, had we started the game like this, the score might be different.
Alan Pitts with some contact before getting open, and then Don Smith quickly corrals him. But it's a first down for the Stampeders. Playing much stronger in the second half. Argos yet to score with 1.5 minutes to go in the third quarter. Ooh, lots of contact. Don Smith filling again. Lewis on the catch, and there's a flag.
Well, Alan Pitts and Johnny Harris down the field from the catch are involved in a little altercation. They're going to call Pitts for illegal contact downfield, or maybe a pick play.
Dave Ewell.
Forward pass interference. Calgary number 18. First down repeated.
You can see here he is, watching me, lines up, nice shake and bake. Get some music set to that. He does a great job getting by him, runs down there. Now I don't know, now Johnny Harris gives him a shot. Now how you can call Alan Pitts for that? I know they're going to call a pick play, but I got to wonder about that one, because as far as I'm concerned, he was trying to get out of Donald Smith's way. That's a questionable one.
Victimized on that one, Alan Pitts. Still grousing as he lines up.
Grousing, is that a hunting term?
Here's Dickenson to Travis Moore. What a hit! Antonius Bonner impales him at the 41.
Well, anytime you're going to slant inside underneath the coverage, you know you're going to take a shot. He takes a shot in the ribs and gets up, and he might be a little unhappy. You see Dickenson just threads him right here. Bam. Nice job of not only tackling the guy, but driving, as you said, impaling, I'll use your word, Mr. Mark Lee, into the turf, trying to make the football part of his body.
It's an attacking Argo defense, and there's a timeout on the play with an injured Stampeder. Travis Moore shaken up after that brutal shot from Antonius Bonner. We're back right after this. Pat Clayton of the Stampeder training staff helping Travis Moore to his feet after he was rocked by Antonius Bonner.
Wow, I tell you, Toronto, we talk about their offense all year, all the stars, but defensively, if these guys put up some numbers, look at this. They lead in 24 or 25 categories this season. Average points per game allowed, 14.6. First downs, 14.3. Offense, 257. But the big one is right here, the first downs. And why? It's because the less you keep that other team or allow that other offense on the field, it means more time for Doug Flutie to have his offense on the field. And that's the key stat that Don Matthews likes.
That is zero tolerance, and there's one of the stars of that defense, Lester Smith, who at this time last year was sitting at home because he's a rare American at the safety position. Dickenson looking deep downfield to Alan Pitts, close coverage and nearly intercepted. Donald Smith was step for step with the rangy Alan Pitts.
Well, I think you mentioned something, good coverage on that play, but getting back to the stats, yeah, Lester Smith has had some incredible stats, but let's give Toronto, the coaching staff, some kudos here. They have got a great philosophy, a great game plan. They're so well coached that everybody who is a contributor, he doesn't believe there's no I in team, it's all team.
But I mentioned last year at this time he was at home because the Argos employed Dan Murphy and George Namako at the safety position, typically a Canadian role in the CFL, but Don Matthews remembers him from earlier teams down in Baltimore, called him up, and that was a shrewd move because he is strong in that safety position.
Well, it's not very often you have your safety, you have 5 sacks.
He had 4 in one game against the Bombers. Remember that? When he was lining up on the line of scrimmage. Here's Adrian Smith. He drops the punt and is quickly corralled by Aldi Henry. And is he excited or what? 47-yard punt and a negative 3-yard return on the play for Adrian Smith. It's 34-9 Toronto. Argo head coach Don Matthews now 1 quarter away from becoming the most successful coach, I'll get it out, in CFL history. As Argo is up big time here as we enter the 4th quarter. And now a look at the Canadian Tire 3rd quarter stats story, Chris.
Well,
and he's not too happy about it.
We'll get back to that. What does sexful mean? Is that a good thing?
That's what you call a spoonerism.
Spoonerism. Well, I'm sure he'll take it any way he can get it. One thing I like about what Don Matthews has done is he's done it with 5 teams. We talked earlier about Wally Buono having 102 wins. He's tied with Bud Grant as the only coach to have more than 100 wins with one franchise, which is pretty amazing itself.
It is. And as you mentioned, Don Matthews doing it every which way on the direct snap to the pinball, and he is stopped quickly. Johnson, Miles working well together, and we have the 3rd quarter stat story now all warmed up.
And you can see Calgary's improved. They had 2 first downs. They've got 7. They've done some things this second half, this 3rd quarter. Toronto's still at 14 first downs. They're kind of becoming a little stagnant. 245 yards, 96 net yards for Calgary versus the big 312 for Toronto. And time of possession, kind of amazing that they've really picked it up 23 minutes ahead of Toronto with 22 minutes.
Ball control in the second half, the story for the Stamps, but they still can't get a touchdown. There's Andre Kerwin, the rookie, across the middle at full tilt speed, and it's good. 17-yard gain on the play for Kerwin, born in Winnipeg, coached at Stanford. There's Frank Clare, 80 years old, sitting next to his daughter Robin. He holds the record, 147 wins, tied right now with Don Matthews. What a great guy.
A great guy, and if you look, we can't really get a pan there. He's got a piece of paper. He's going over some game notes. I think he's going to design some stuff. You can see right here, but it's right in here. His wife pretending, or his daughter pretending he doesn't see it because we don't want to give away the plays right now.
Flutie on the option, tries to get rid of it with pressure from Jackie Kellogg.
He's going to be doing a little consulting work for the Toronto Argonauts.
Don Matthews, who has deferred credit for the all-time coaching record, saying it's a team game and the players win the games. I think he's being a little modest.
He is definitely being modest. We talked about the fact he's had 5 teams. He's won everywhere he goes. He surrounds himself with not only outstanding coaches, but he's got his player personnel, and his scouts have got to be recognized as well for bringing in the talent they bring in year after year, franchise after franchise.
There's the biggest acquisition of them all, Doug Flutie. Flutie in trouble with a flag on the play, scrambles and is hit hard. Marvin Pope and Anthony McClanahan put a lick on Doug.
Well, this seems to be a different second half for Calgary. Toronto's going to probably get flagged for holding here.
Toronto 54. Penalties declined. 3rd down.
Jeremy O'Day in getting a holding call. And Calgary is really coming up. They've kept the same pace. They're just not making as many mistakes. You watch him right here. He's at the bottom of your screen. He's working on Jermaine Miles. He's got the collar on him. You can't have that hand around the neck. Referee does a nice job making it. Throwing the flag.
Jeremy O'Day, who has a touchdown catch this year in that interesting alignment the Argos threw against the Bombers.
But we were talking about the fact that Don Matthews has so much talent. Jeremy O'Day's another rookie. They have so many rookies. They got Andre Kerwin, who's a rookie.
3 first-year players on the offensive line. As Marvin Coleman is pulverized on that punt return, Don Smith again leading the way.
And here's the Argo pack to scoring. Watch this. Pinball Clemens, just a 2-yard out, sits down. Nice grab right there from Doug Flutie to make it 7-0.
That was rough going, and then Doug Flutie finds Kalen on a safety blitz, and Dimitrition wide open in the end zone for the 2nd TD of the half.
And they go again on a big, long 56-yarder. Leonard misses a tackle. Clemens easy Johnson, 21-3 at this time.
Number 2 on the day, and then Old Faithful Paul Masadi twists and turns just inside the goal line. 4 TD passes from Flutie in the opening half. And they've got oxygen on the bench just in case these guys get tired. Here's Dickenson, flush from the pocket. Stewart and Reggie Gibbons finally brings him down.
And we talked about this, and we're going to talk about this until they put the cows back to pasture, but they keep bringing so many people, they can't block them all. Watch this. Here's Gibbons coming. There's Lester Smith in here. There's so many people coming after him. Unless you stretch this offense and get away from it, you're never going to make him get out of this offense.
Look at Drummond. He's got his hands on the ball. You know, he really can't stand watching. He feels like he's out of it. He's not part of the team.
Well, anybody that's ever been injured in any sport, it doesn't have to be football. If you're not contributing, you really feel empty. You don't enjoy the win because you weren't part of the win. And that's why he wants to get back, because he's a true professional.
Terry Vaughn makes the catch and is drilled by Don Smith. And Andre Ware is warming up on the Argo sidelines. Ware has thrown only 25 passes this year, completing 14 for 1 touchdown.
Illegal contact on an eligible receiver. Toronto number 7, first down.
Well, as you could probably hear, Johnny Harris had his way with the words there. Did not believe it. I think it was a bull rider term he used.
Andre Ware, who broke 28 passing records at the University of Houston, the NCAA first-round pick in Detroit, couldn't make it in the NFL, and is trying to rekindle his career under the tutelage of another Heisman Trophy winner, Doug Flutie.
Doug Flutie and Johnny Jenkins, who coached him to all those records at the University of Houston.
The other backup in this game is Dave Dickenson, who started because Jeff Garcia has a viral infection and can't play. He goes back to Terry Vaughn again. And Adrian Smith makes the tackle.
And you're talking about the viral infections or the turf burns that cause infections. We've had, Chris Burns had one. Danielson has one in his elbow right now. Bruce Coverton's just recovering from an infection.
There's Jeff now.
And there you can see it. His elbow is puffed up. You can get a shot of it.
Yeah, it's his right arm.
Right in here, you can see right there the patch where they drain the swelling out. It swells up. It's a bursa sac. They have to drain it and fill it with antibiotics.
Dickenson steps up, and it's complete right down the middle of the field to J.P. Esquardo. 23-yard pass and run to number 23.
Well, that's JP's second catch of the year.
The hat is on.
You can see right here, this is a good sign that your quarterback's not playing anymore when he puts the team hat on. Another good day for Doug Flutie. It's just commonplace, and I think people start to take him for granted. His number, 16 of 28.
But just 2 completions in the third quarter.
It's kind of tough sometimes when you're up that many points, so I think.
It is, and Doug has mentioned at times he is sometimes guilty of being too complacent, of not wanting to throw picks, of becoming a bit more conservative in the offense. And there's a flag on the play.
Yeah, one of the tackles, I think it was a left tackle, Rocco Romano, just trying to
illegal
get an early
procedure.
step.
Calgary number 57, still first down.
Well, I had the tackles right.
It's the other end.
Chris Burns. What you can see was 59 had actually put his hand down late. When you set, you have to go down in cage. You just can't throw your hand down any time. And it was Rocco Romano, and we'll have a chat with the referee after and probably divvy up his game check.
Chris Burns into his pass block stance with Dave Dickenson in the shotgun. Dickenson over the top, crossing pattern to Vince Danielson, and he is rode across the first down marker in the 25 by Donald Smith. A 17-yard pickup and a first down, and he's got those big gloves going well today.
Well, he lines up at the top of your screen. He just pushes off, and Marcelo Simmons comes across. Whenever you come across, we've mentioned this time and time again, it's a catch-up. Marcelo Simmons has to catch him, does a job, but not before he gets a first down.
Danielson into the game with 6 touchdowns and more than 1,000 yards in his receiving department. The first time he's done that in his career. Dickenson wide open and complete for another first down. Vince Danielson going to work.
They found something late in the game here that's working for him, and you can see Danielson again. He lines up, just finds a hole. He's looking for the ball right now. They're in zone coverage, just gets the ball, turns, and heads north.
Barely had the ball, and he was on his way. First down. Calgary with their first serious deep threat of the ball game here in the fourth quarter. Scrimmaging at the Toronto 13. Dickenson And it's incomplete. Looking for Kelvin Anderson on the corner. Close coverage from Kenny Benson.
And that's the way you'll beat these guys right now. If Toronto is going to bring all these guys from the outside, that time Marcelo Simmons, not only one do you have to get the ball away, but you got to make sure you have an outlet receiver. Right now, you see him coming. Danielson picks him up, but nobody picks up number 9.
Well, you see this often happens to a young quarterback thrust into the game, as Paul Masadi watches from the Argos sideline alongside Don Matthews. Late in the game, he's had a chance now to study this game and this defense for 3 quarters, and now he's starting to click.
Well,
here's Dickenson under pressure, can't get it away, drops the ball, it's picked up. Reggie Gibbons is gone by a country mile. 81 yards. Gibbons lopes to the end zone for the Argos after fellow linebacker Kenny Benson strips the ball from Dave Dickenson.
well, another blitz. That's the forte of Toronto. They all come.
I'm not sure whether the arm was in motion, and it could have been called an incomplete pass. We'll have to look at the replay as Gibbons is celebrated.
Well, you can see Gibbons here is working on Chris Burns. Just comes outside. The ball gets stripped, or he fumbles the ball, picks it up.
That's an Argo bounce if I ever saw one.
Well, they've had a few today. Doug Flutie fumbled the one on the quarterback keeper. It came right back to him. But good teams get good breaks.
Reggie Gibbons, the Argo defender, with the touchdown today, the 5th for the Argos, the 1st for the defense. And it's 40-9 as Vanderjagt attempts the point after. Vanderjagt awaiting the signal. Time ticking now, 3 seconds to go. The Argos running down the play clock. Vanderjagt's point after is good. And the Argos, with 7:24 to go in this football game, have a commanding 41-9 lead as the defense snares one for Toronto. Linebacker Reggie Gibbons with his first touchdown of a CFL career on a 91-yard fumble return to the end zone. Well, that was a beauty as this swarming Argo defense hits pay dirt. Marvin Coleman back inside his own 10 to return this kick. Wide side now up through the hash marks and drilled at the 35-yard line. A 66-yard kick and a 24-yard return before Brendan Rodgers puts the grab on Coleman. 1 year ago, Reggie Gibbons was told his knee was not fit to play football. He was dumped. The Argos picked him up, and he gets his first touchdown of his career on a 91-yard fumble return. There was some question about whether the arm was in motion. Let's see if it was or not.
Watch, he's sitting right down here, and we can just and freeze it right there. Run it a little bit. You can see right here his hand has not raised up right now. If we run it further, he doesn't get an opportunity to pull a hand up to go into throwing motion, which would have been an incomplete pass. It is a fumble. Touchdown.
First down, Calgary at their own 35. Tough day for Dave Dickenson. Inside route to Terry Vaughn, bobbles it, pulls the handle, breaks 2 tackles, keeps going. Tough effort before Marcelo Simmons stops him with a 19-yard gain.
You want to know why you want to get the hands in the ball in this guy's hand? This is why. Dickenson, nice shot. He comes across the middle, bobbles the ball, enough concentration to hold it right through 2 tacklers. Lester runs right over Lester Smith. Great job.
Great job by Terry Vaughn, who's only 5'8", 175 pounds.
But you don't be measured in size, you measure in heart. And that's 5'8" of heart.
And there's Dickenson bobbling the snap. Gets it away, though, and Vaughn's wide open. Oh, look at Vaughn work for that yardage. This time he stuck Donald Smith, one of the toughest corners in the league, for a 13-yard pickup.
Well, he stuffed Donald Smith, but he took a shot from Johnny Harris. Johnny Harris thought he'd stay down. He didn't, and Donald Smith had to come put the finishing touches on him.
It's Johnny Harris, who had the pick last week.
The big pick against Montreal, the backbreaker. See, he catches the ball right on the outside, tries to make some run. Donald Smith comes. Nice hit right there.
I'm telling you, it took 3 guys to bring him down.
That's effort. That's what you want, and that's what you gotta like when you see a team down 41-9, but they're still fighting for every yard.
Dickenson,
Get rid of it, son.
backside. Wow, he took a shot from behind. Reggie Gibbons drilled him from the blind side just as he got the ball off, and the look of concern on Danny Barrett's face.
Well, they're going to have to make some adjustments on offense, and anytime you bring that many guys, remember, they cannot cover.
Flag on the play.
Toronto, first down.
Well, they're calling a little pass interference on Toronto, but when they bring that many people from the outside, you can't possibly cover everybody of the receivers of Calgary. If any team is playing Toronto, they got to start doing adjustment routes, coming in, getting the hot patterns. See, number 9 here has got a good hand. Oh, he's all over Vince Danielson.
Marcelo Simmons.
If you're going to take him to the dance, you got to buy 2 tickets.
And so it's first down. Calgary whistles on the play and more flags. The ball is thrown incomplete to Alan Pitts, but the play has been nullified by the whistle.
Illegal procedure, Calgary 57, still first down.
So Chris Burns is tabbed for procedure, and the yardsticks will go back 5, make it 1st and 15 Calgary.
Well, mistakes will kill you and put you in a worse position.
They just announced the attendance here at the Sky Dome, 24,083, one of the best turnouts of the season.
Which is amazing when you have this kind of product in Toronto, and I don't think the people that are out there realize what they're missing here.
Dickenson over the middle to big Vince Danielson, and he runs right into the roadblock, otherwise known as Don Smith.
And this is exactly what we're talking about. You're going to bring somebody, you got to have an adjustment route. He just comes across the middle. He knows it's a hot pattern. Bam, get him the ball. There he's got the ball. Marcelo Simmons, chase position. Donald Smith comes and puts the finishing touches on it, but that's how you're going to beat a blitzing defense.
Last time they played, Donald Smith was wearing the cast on a broken arm, complained that the Calgary receivers were pulling on it, getting his mind off the game. This time the arm is healed, and he's had a great game, and what a shot there from Smith.
What a shot.
My goodness.
What a shot. What a catch.
Yeah, it was a good catch, too.
Let's talk about a catch. One hand in the air, comes out of a maze of players. Watch him at the bottom of your screen right here. A little out route. One hand comes up. Watch this, in traffic. Here it comes. Look at this. That's a snag, and he hangs onto it. Gets a great pop by Donald Smith. He pops up, goes back to the huddle.
The ball was dropped, though, and it'll be 3rd down and short. We're back to check on Danielson after this. Marcelo Simmons nursing an injury on that play, although he did not involve himself in the brunt of this collision. Great concentration by Danielson.
This is a grab, one-handed grab, pulls it out of the air. Donald Smith, welcome. He gives him a no postal code, and then you see Simmons kind of spins around and falls on his tailbone.
Kelly Wiltshire into the game for Simmons. 3rd down and 2. Stamps going for it with a flag on the play. Deep. Pitts. Touchdown.
There's a flag on the play, but it will be offside on Toronto.
Offside, Toronto is declined, touchdown.
Right you are, Chris Walby, as Dave Dickenson throws his first touchdown pass of the game to the veteran Alan Pitts in close coverage.
Nice job here, Alan Pitts. Hasn't been used too much today. Does nice shake and bake on the line, trying to shake. Antonius Bonner does a great job of staying with him. The ball is put where only Alan Pitts can get it, right over the shoulder. Great concentration, and you expect that from a future Hall of Famer like Alan Pitts. It makes it look easy now, but you'd wonder why they couldn't have had this kind of ball control in the first half.
Exactly. Pitts battling all the way down the field with Bonner, and now the Stamps will go for 2. Dickenson, the corner route, and it's picked off by Adrian Smith, but there's a flag on the play. A flag in the end zone as the Stamps go for 2 on the conversion.
Well, this will be interesting. Little face masking against somebody on the Toronto Argonauts.
Major foul, face mask, Toronto number 10, first down.
Antonius Bonner, who was engaged in that coverage of Pitts on the previous play, tabbed for face masking, and so they'll move the ball to the 2.5-yard line, halfway to the goal line. And they'll try again, the Stampeders will, for the 2-point conversion. down 41-15 with 3 minutes to go in the game. Dickenson, the corner route, and Pitts is wide open, and there's another flag on the play.
This time they're going to call Terry Vaughn for a pick play. Nobody should be that wide open in the end zone.
Illegal contact. Toronto 26. Penalties declined. 2-point conversion stands.
Kelly Wiltshire is called for the illegal contact.
I think that's a gift. Christmas comes early sometimes. From my vantage point up here, it looked like Terry Vaughn came inside, picked the defensive back, allowing Pitts to come free in the back of the end zone, but that's neither here nor there now as they make the call and stay by it.
Stampeders in a drive that was littered with debris after all those big collisions, coming up with a touchdown. You hear Don Matthews warning his team about the onside kick and what to expect. Here's another look at the TD from the end zone.
Just a nice job by Dickinson. And one of the things he has got, he doesn't throw a hard ball, but they say he's got incredible touch on the ball. And it's going to be interesting to see as time goes on and years go on. Dave Dickenson will be a star in this league. And we'll be talking about him, I'm sure, in the future.
Well, there has been a lot of talk around this league about the future young quarterbacks, who they might be, and he's one of the more promising prospects in the league. And so the Stamps do not go for the short kick with only 3 minutes to go. Pinball at his own 10. Cuts through a seam, breaks a handful of tackles, and is still going. And finally, the pursuit guys, Roger Reinson gets back upfield and gets him from behind. A 63-yard kickoff and a 26-yard return from the pinball. Argos up front.
Welcome back to the CFL on CBC. Later this evening, hockey hits the airwaves with another Molson Hockey Night in Canada doubleheader, beginning with the pregame show at 7 Eastern. Quebec viewers will see the Washington Capitals at the Molson Centre in Montreal against the Canadiens, while the rest of the country watches the Dallas Stars at Maple Leaf Gardens in the Leafs' first Saturday night home game of the season. Both games are followed by Boston at Calgary on the full network at approximately 10:30 Eastern, 8:30 Mountain Time. That's all later tonight.
Thanks, Caroline. We're back to live action where Mike Clemens has just moved the yardsticks again for the Argonauts.
Well, I tell you, one of the things that Calgary has done good is special team coverage. Watch Roger Reinson, the leading tackler for the Calgary Stampeders. Gets blocked, gets knocked down, Brendan Rodgers, but he gets up, tenacious. That's what you want out of your guys right there. Great play, great second effort.
He was all over you yesterday for saying he was basted on Thanksgiving Day.
Well, he was talking to me, and he came up to me and actually hunted me down, I should probably say.
He was getting phone messages.
Well, we used the term basted last week on Thanksgiving, and he didn't appreciate that, as he has done a great job. And I explained to him that when you get KO'd like that by Kennever, you got to talk about it. But when you KO somebody, I'm going to talk about you.
He is one of the Canadian grinders on special teams. Saskatchewan. He's got a buddy here all the way from the Maritimes to watch this football game. Andre Ware at quarterback. Fires to Dwayne Dimitrition, and there is a flag at the line of scrimmage. Aldi Henry in the game now in the secondary.
Well, sometimes you have an opportunity, not only when you win, but when you're losing by so much, to bring some guys in.
Pass interference.
Forward pass interference. Toronto number 80. First down repeated.
Norm Casola guilty of the infraction. Trying to push off a little bit, grabbing some guys on a pattern, a crossing pattern.
There's another gritty special teams guy who is getting his nose dirty on the offense.
Well, anytime that you're only playing special teams and you get an opportunity to come in with the #1 unit, be it offense or defense, you want to do well so you can be called upon in the future.
Andre Ware now getting a chance to mop up. In the shotgun. He wants to go deep on the what an arm. And there's Darren Mitchell. Wide open. And look at the acceleration. Touchdown Argos. The rookie scores again.
Well,
What a cannon.
I tell you what, if this is a car, don't take it to the shop because all cylinders are firing here, baby. Andre Ware comes in, doesn't miss a beat this time, fires a bullet to a speeding Daryl Mitchell, who, after making the catch, puts some more afterburners on and just pulls away.
Daryl Mitchell with his 14th touchdown of his rookie year in the CFL, a 71-yard pass and run connection.
And you mentioned the fact that Aldi Henry was in, the rookie.
And the record.
They went right after him.
He breaks the Rockets' record for receiving in one season. That was 1,300. He's gone 61 better, and there's still a game to go.
Well, he's a tremendous athlete, and you got to be happy for Andre Ware doing what he's doing right now, getting a chance to perform and succeeding. We saw him a couple weeks ago, a little bit more trouble. This week comes out and fires a nice shot.
And so Andre Ware coming in to mop up, but he decides to add to the total. It's 48-17. Daryl Mitchell, the Texas Tech product, making a strong case for Rookie of the Year in the CFL.
Well, if he hasn't put a lock on it, he sure has now. We talked about Aldi Henry, the rookie. He just got him beat. He's just doing a simple fly pattern. Aldi with the last desperate attempt to try and knock him down. He puts on the jets and nobody's going to catch him in the open field.
That's the 4.340 speed as Daryl Mitchell is the toast of the Argo faithful here this afternoon. Don Matthews now a minute and 50 away from his 148th career victory, a new CFL record. Terry Vaughn crashes into the coverage and is brought down at the 35-yard line. Again, Michael O'Shea with yeoman service on special teams. A 19-yard return by Vaughn after a 65-yard kickoff from Vanderjack.
Well, you got to be happy for Don Matthews, the coaching staff. He's just put, the last 2 years have been tremendous, and he feels this year's team he's got is so much stronger because last year they had a good offense. They had a good defense. This year he feels he has a great offense and a really great defense.
The Argos and Don Matthews on the verge of a new team record 10th win in a row this season. Dave Dickenson has taken a beating today as the backup, and he connects again on a comeback route from Alan Pitts, and Antonius Bonner puts the lick on him. But as you mentioned earlier, they're not taking chances and stretching the defense.
Watch Pitts at the bottom here. He just does a nice move again. Comes back into the ball, shields the defender, makes a nice catch, moves the yardsticks.
Nearly 30 years after Frank Clare left the CFL as the winningest coach, he's now on the sidelines and prepared to congratulate his successor, Don Matthews. Dave Dickenson over the middle. Vince Danielson has the first down.
And all they're doing, and we talked about the similarities of offense and how Doug Flutie likes to take what the other defenses give to him. That's all Dickinson's doing. He's figured it out. Take what Toronto gives us. They're giving us the crossing routes. Exactly what Toronto likes to run. They got Danielson sliding across the middle, makes a nice catch, another first down.
Wally Buono saying yesterday that Don Matthews brings a winning attitude wherever he goes, and as soon as his teams become competitive, they become contenders. A tribute from another great coach, as Esquardo makes the catch and is tackled by Kelly Wiltshire.
Well, they just got so much talent on this team. I mean, you go up and down this roster, and you know what? When they're winning, and they're winning so convincingly, they're having so much fun out there. That's the biggest thing. You watch them in pregame practice yesterday. They're laughing, they're joking around, they're so loose, and they have so much confidence, and that's the biggest thing right now.
Well, other teams watching this football game around the CFL have got to wonder who can beat the Toronto Argonauts. 10 straight wins, 17 in a row at home going back to July 4th of last year when Matt Dunnigan and the Tiger Cats beat the Argos 38-36 in a shootout.
Yeah, well, you're quite correct, but I still think what you have to do, and I think what happens to a lot of these teams now, is they come in and they get so excited about playing the Toronto Argonauts. They say, look at their record, look at their home streak win. They got 16, there'll be 17 games they haven't lost at home now. And they do mistakes that they would normally not do. And that's what's happened to these teams. Teams are making crucial mistakes, putting themselves under the gun and behind early in the game, and then they have to go out of their original game plan, and it's not till the fourth quarter they can get back into it. The team that starts making or playing without making mistakes is the team that's going to give Toronto a battle.
just been handed a note that informs me of the Toronto club policy, as we mentioned at the half, not to lose twice to the same team in the same season, and no Gatorade on the coach.
Well, I think that second one's got to go, and I've got it on good authority that if somebody pours Gatorade on Coach Matthews, that Mark Lee will cover the fine.
Thanks a lot. I'll stay out of this if you don't mind. There's the Gatorade right now.
This is the Gatorade, and it's full of the good stuff right here, I'm telling you right now. And usually a coach will get doused with that after clinching first place, winning a championship, or in this case, setting an all-time win record.
But nobody is venturing close to the Gatorade drum, and it remains sealed on the Argo bench.
Well, I'm hoping somebody out there starts thinking, I see Pinball over there.
He might be the only guy who can get away with it with that big smile. Dickenson looking for Travis Moore, and he can't track down the pass. It's a bit overthrown with 30 seconds to go in the game.
Well, Mark, if you don't pay for the fine, you can at least pay.
Oh, look at this. He's faking the autograph, and then he'll make a move on the Gatorade. Right? You stand there like you're making the autograph.
That is a definite ploy there, I'm sure, but I'd love to see somebody do it. I think it's something worthy.
And now it appears there's a guard posted at the Gatorade. Looks like it may not happen. Dave Dickenson bails out an underhand to Travis Moore. He's got it. But Donald Smith, who has had the lion's share of secondary tackles here today, stops him for a loss of 1. And now Pinball.
Here we go. We got
Gatorade.
the spinning of the lid. The spinning of the lid, people. This is looking like it is here, unless they're real thirsty and they're going to stick their heads in there.
Looks like they're going to make a concoction here.
They're checking for the fullest one. That's what they're checking, the levels. This is the level here. Here we go.
And Don Matthews unsuspecting as this develops behind him. Back to live action. 3rd down and 11. Dickenson is complete, but Pitts looks like he'll be very close to a first down as he stretches.
And here we go, and it looks like it. It is.
A gross violation of Argo team policy as Donnie Matthews is celebrated with his 148th all-time victory, a new CFL record.
You gotta like that. I think that, hey, I say throw that club policy out. That's prehistoric.
There's Fausto, part of the CBC staff, enjoying that as much as anybody.
Oh, I think that's great. All-time winningest coach, 148th victory, well-deserved. Don Matthews. That's a great way for the players to say how much they love him. Put that stuff on him like that. Everybody coming over, congratulatory hugs, handshakes.
There's Johnny Harris, Kenny Benson.
As they say in Vegas, there's a whole lot of love in this room.
Mike O'Shea with a bear hug for the coach, a high five, and one more look at the Gatorade. A total blind side shot on Don Matthews. Frank Clare will give up a record that has stood nearly 30 years. 1969, his last year as a head coach, when the Rough Riders won their second of back-to-back Grey Cups with the great Russ Jackson, Ronnie Stewart, Bo Scott, and on and on. Time ticking down now, and it's in the books. The Argos defeat the Calgary Stampeders 48-17 on a day that Don Matthews claims a milestone. 148 wins in his career and the game ball. He is the coach with the most wins in CFL history. We're back to Toronto in a jiffy.
Welcome back to the CFL on CBC, where the Toronto Argonauts have just defeated the Calgary Stampeders by a score of 48-17. Doug Flutie joins me now. Doug, a lot on the line in this game, some pride, obviously maybe some revenge on your part because they did hand you the one loss this season out of the 2. But I don't think anybody expected it to be a blowout so soon. What happened?
I certainly didn't either, but I think the difference was we had to get more aggressive after them offensively. We had to go up the field with the ball. I like the nickel and dime, and they take that away, and we had to be a little more aggressive, and we made some big plays.
It seemed like you were really able to pick apart their defense today, too.
Yeah, we isolated Pinball a lot, got him matched up on linebackers, and he made, it was like nickel and dime a couple times, send him up through the chute a few times, and we made the big plays. Like I said, it was more of a probably lower pass completion percentage type day. Try to go the 20-yard chunks, and Pinball just had a great day receiving-wise. Dwayne Demetrician turns his guy around for a touchdown. So we just made some big plays.
It has been very frustrating for them because I know part of their game plan was to contain Pinball, and and it looked like he could read them better than they could read him.
You know, the trick is to do things formation-wise to isolate pinball on one individual in space. And if you can do that, you're going to win every time.
Talk a bit about this home streak. The last time you guys lost at home, it was Matt Dunnigan who beat you. Boy, this has been going on a long time.
Yeah, I remember that game well. We had an opportunity for a field goal at the end of the game and ran out of time. But Matt did a great job and threw 5 touchdowns, I think, that day. It's just playing consistent football. You know, we've managed to win. I think it's coincidence that it's at home, but we'll take it. I mean, it's great. Maybe we're just very comfortable with these surroundings. I don't know.
And a quick note about your coach, who has just set a career record here for wins.
That's fantastic for Don. And I mean, ever since I've been in the league, he's been winning. He's taken teams from Edmonton, Saskatchewan now, Baltimore, Montreal, you know, up to here now. And it's just, he has a knack for getting the players he wants and getting guys to play for him.
Thanks very much, Doug Flutie. We'll be back right after this.
Back at the Skydome in Toronto, where most of the fans are still here, the Argonauts have gathered at center field as Don Matthews is tributed for his 148th career win, a new CFL record. Coming up tonight on Hockey Night in Canada, another doubleheader beginning with the pregame show at 7. Quebec will see Washington and Montreal. The rest of the country watches the Dallas Stars at Maple Leaf Gardens in the Leafs' first Saturday night home game of the season. And coming up tomorrow on the CFL on CBC, we will be at the Big O in Montreal, where the Blue Bombers face the Alouettes at 1 Eastern. And also coming up tomorrow, it's the Canadian International at Woodbine. The Thoroughbreds take center stage in the 60th running of the International. Check your local listings. Daryl Mitchell, the rookie, celebrates one of 5 big TDs today as Don Matthews makes CFL history. Thanks for watching, and so long from Toronto.